I'm Mark Dykton. So we've got a rigmarole of a schedule today as far as hosts. Kevin is out going to the Pacific Northwest to swing the golf clubs. And Jeff is out in Charlotte, so he'll be back on Monday. So right now, it's just James, myself, and Kylan in studio to bring it into the weekend. How are you guys doing this morning?
I'm doing good. I'm liking this new setup already. You know, if you want to make this a full-time thing, Mark, you know, my people talk to your people, and we'll work it out.
Say the word. Handshake agreement under the table. That's fine by me. Yeah, lots to get into today. From the Pacers draft, they made a couple of moves last night. In the NBA draft, the Fever lost Caitlin Clark to a groin injury. They also lost on the court to the LA Sparks. We'll get into all that, plus the DeWanna Bonner drama. And then there was also the Colts schedule came out last night for the training camp schedule. So James is probably salivating looking at the schedule like, man, I can't wait to be out at Grand Park all these mornings in the middle of July in the summer.
I was just thinking, man, I got to, re-find my bucket hat. It's somewhere in the abyss, Kylan. It's somewhere in the closet, but I will find it before we get out there because I learned from my first year out at training camp, not having a hat or sunscreen will certainly hurt you.
I feel like a bucket hat is such a bad look, but it works so well, especially at training camp.
I know.
It's like the go-to look, and it's like, it's such a bad look, but people rock them, and I'm like, I guess that makes sense because it's covering your neck and everything like that, and it's keeping you cool. So it's not the trendiest look, but man, come training camp, and every NFL player, I mean, there's got to be a sponsorship going on with bucket hats because those things are rocked everywhere, and it's like there. I don't get it. If you're not going on a safari, what are you wearing a bucket hat for?
Hey, I'm with you, brother. I am with you.
All right, so we got plenty to get into this morning. Again, the Pacers made a couple of moves. I thought it was actually a pretty interesting draft selection. We talked about yesterday how they acquired the 38th overall pick from the San Antonio Spurs in addition to their 54th pick, which they already had. They used both of those selections on guards. The 38th overall pick was Marquette guard Cam Jones, and then 54th was Liberty guard Talon Peter. And I'm curious your thoughts on this because while I thought guard was a need, I also thought there would be a big man at some point in one of those two picks. I thought they'd go center guard or guard center, and they did both guards. And obviously the Miles Turner situation, we expect that to get resolved at some point in the offseason with a contract extension. But the fact that they went guard, I thought that was kind of interesting in the wake of the Halliburton injury. Are they thinking they have a little more depth issues, or maybe they want to upgrade there? While the Miles Turner situation, he's heading into free agency. We expect him to get signed an extension, but they also don't have much depth behind him. So I feel like that might be a position that raised some eyebrows that they did not address outside of guys that they signed after the draft completed.
Absolutely. I was thinking to myself, okay, since they didn't go center, that must be a position that they're going to target in free agency, where they perhaps bring back someone like Isaiah Jackson, who will be, I believe, a free agent this offseason, or someone else who can fill in that backup center role where you're not paying a ton of money to bring them in, but, they're a reliable source of just basketball continuity. Like, hey, we can put this guy in, and we don't have to worry about him necessarily, being a huge drop-off or someone we have to develop or bring along. Perhaps he's an established veteran who's just a backup, a career backup, and we can work from there. So that, to me, was sort of what that signified without going the center route throughout the draft. Now, I will say, pivoting back to the actual draft picks, I like the Cam Jones pick a lot. I thought that he is an athletic guy. He is a pretty big guard. I want to say 6'4", 6'5". He had some big-time moments in the Big East over at Marquette. And I thought that was sort of the pick that they really wanted to move up for, where we can get somebody that, similar to Andrew Nembhard, played a lot in college, is established, has experience playing a lot of point guard, and can he be somebody that can, help you when it comes to just offloading some of the duties that you have at point guard. He's a career 36%, three-point shooter in college. Didn't shoot a ton of them, really shot it poorly last year, only 31% from the field last year, or 31%, from three last year, but he's a pretty efficient guard overall, shooting about 48% from the field throughout his 4 years at Marquette. So, again, older player. I like his game. I think he's athletic. I think he's big. I believe he's a lefty, too, so maybe that'll be a little different out there. But I like that pick. And then the number 54 pick, I thought that was more so them targeting what I felt like was a sharpshooter. Talon Peter is someone who can light it up from three, volume, three-point shooter as well. But, again, seeing that he is a guard, and you already have a lot of guards, I do wonder, okay, how realistic is it for him to perhaps crack the rotation or be more than, someone who's at the end of the bench. So not too surprised at what was made of the draft decisions, but yeah, like you said, Mark, it raised my attention. Like, oh man, they went with 2 6'4" guards, no big men. Does that mean they're trying to, obviously bring back Miles? And who else will they bring into that mix?
I know nothing about Talon Peter. Didn't watch a second of Liberty basketball, but I was living and dying with Tony East's Twitter account as he was going through Talon Peter's stat lines and everything like that. Like, Tony East's Twitter account got me excited for Talon Peter. What was the one? He had the one where he was saying, Talon Peter has worked out, and he had averaged 13.7 points per game with Liberty. He shot over 75% on twos. And then he started going down the Talon Peter rabbit hole and eventually ended the night with saying, he has some crazy stats, man. Really looking forward to watching him. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I would like to watch him in the Summer League. So that'll be one reason to tune into Pacers Summer League. See Talon Peter dropping a lot of dimes.
Absolutely. That and, like I said, shooting the crap out of the ball. I mean, that is a guy who can fill it up. And shooting is always a premium in the NBA. So if you can do it at a high level, that will certainly help you, get on the floor and hopefully stay on the floor. So I'm excited to see what other moves they kind of make this offseason. This was the first domino. They've gotten through it. I feel like the NBA draft, it just comes and goes so quick. I mean, I feel like we make like a week-long show out of the NFL draft, or like we talk about Tyler Warren.
No, it's not. It's not 1 week. It's like 4 months.
I know, and I'm like, wait a second, like that happened so fast. And now actually it's 2 days instead of 1 day, like it used to be.
I feel like it did go. It came and went way quicker, obviously because of the Pacers' deep playoff run. We were sidetracked with that. Normally we're down the mock draft rabbit hole.
Yeah,
and, going on all these Twitter accounts and everything like that, trying to see who the Pacers might get. So this year it snuck up on us, but that was a good thing because the Pacers had such a deep playoff run. Should note also that after the draft completed, the Pacers also reportedly signed UConn big man Samson Johnson and East Carolina guard R.J. Felton. So we'll see what happens there. They did sign a big man. It was not in the draft, but they took him after the fact. So we'll see what happens with that. But the Pacers draft is now in the books, which means we're going to start G League pretty soon. And then obviously we've got free agency to look forward to and the future of Miles Turner. Also, the Indiana Fever. We talked about it yesterday.
Wait, one more quick thing.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I want to say this just because it was really cool. I was leaving the Indiana Fever game last night, driving out of the parking garage, and you have to drive down like this little ramp where the Pacers players and coaches usually will go to this like other part of the ramp, other part of the garage. And as I'm driving down, Larry Bird was walking out of the facility. And I was like, I did a double take, and I'm like, man, that's Larry Bird. And so I kept driving or whatever, but I was just like, man, that is so crazy. I've not seen him in a long time because he's not as visible as he used to be, obviously, with the team, but still involved with a lot of the, player type of development, things like that, draft picks and whatnot. So that was interesting to me. I know he's a consultant with the Pacers, but just seeing him, like, walk by and I'm driving by, I was like, oh my gosh, that is like the greatest player probably in Indiana history outside of Oscar Robertson. But that was pretty cool.
Coincidentally, I had a friend who I know from college, and she had reached out, and she knows I do sports radio, and she's like, hey, I need to prepare for a golf outing at my company, and they want a celebrity. Do you have Larry Bird's phone number by any chance? I'm like, I wish. I'm like, you don't think I'd be trying to get him for our golf outing if I had Larry Bird's phone number? So ironically, I should have just reached out to James Boyd and say, hey, if you're going to see Larry later, just like give him my digits. And
no chance. I feel like he'd call the police on me. Like, who the heck is this kid stopping me and waving me down?
If I had Larry Bird's phone number, I'd be a happy man. I do not have Larry Bird's phone number. I probably have a guy named like Bird Larry, but it's not him. It's not Larry Legend. Going back to James, you were at the Fever game last night, an 85-75 loss to the LA Sparks. Again, Caitlin Clark out. We found that out after we got off the air yesterday. Out with a groin injury. This seems to be somewhat of a plagued sophomore season, in my opinion. Another injury to her. She struggled. The Fever struggled without her. Now lost 3 of 4, and they get right back on the court tonight as they head to Dallas to take on the Wings. What is going on with the Fever right now? Because I thought, as they were getting ready for this offseason, or this upcoming season in the offseason, they made all these veteran signings. It felt like they had some really good depth and all that stuff. Yeah. Now we've got the DeWanna Bonner drama. We've got Caitlin Clark having a bit of an injured second season going on. She's also struggling on the court as well. And the Fever just don't seem to be meshing cohesively on the court because they seem like when she's out, they just they play down to a level that is really hard to win some basketball games. So they have a lot of talent. It's not meshing right now. What do you think is going on there?
Yeah, the biggest thing would probably be the injury factor with Caitlin Clark. She hasn't had the ability, and really overall, not just her. I mean, Sophie Cunningham has missed games. I know Damaris Dantas is missing time right now to go play for the national team with Brazil, I believe, like the Amira Cup. And then you have, Ari McDonald joining the rotation. Dwana Bonner, basically saying, I want out. Mm-hmm. So they haven't had a lot of continuity from top to bottom throughout their roster, and that would affect any team. And I thought the other night when they played the Seattle Storm on the road, they won sort of in spite of Caitlin Clark because she played so poorly and had a ton of turnovers, missed a ton of threes, and was just not herself. And then we come to find out it's a groin issue. But last night, you kind of see like what you miss when she's not out there, because I thought the way that the Sparks were able to defend the rest of the Fever, particularly in the fourth quarter, was not how they would defend them if Caitlin had been out there. Just the spacing she provides, the gravity. Even if she's not making shots, the threat of her making shots will open things up for other players. But beyond offensively, Mark, I thought defensively they were horrible in the fourth quarter. I mean, this is a team that, I'm looking at the stats right now from yesterday, they held the Sparks to 30 points in the first half, only 10 points in the second quarter. They gave up 35 in a 10-minute fourth quarter against the Sparks, who, by the way, entered that game 4-11. One of the worst teams in the WNBA, not a good team, and you let them go off in the fourth quarter. Offensive rebounds late, a lot of shot making late from Kelsey Plum, and they just imploded. They imploded down the stretch, which has become a theme. I believe in the last few games for this team, they have blown fourth quarter leads. That was one of the talking points that me and Tony East had throughout the game and after the game when he was asking Stephanie White about that, and she was just saying we have to be a mentally tougher team. Mm-hmm. Like, this is beyond just perhaps execution. It's a want to, it's a desire, it's a focus thing, and we have to be able to go out there and punish teams and kind of, put them away, because they were in control of this game, even while they shot the ball so poorly. Like that first half, if anybody was watching like me, and unlike those who it isn't their job, God bless you, because that was some bad basketball. Yeah. I was like, I would turn this off in a heartbeat if I was not covering this team in some capacity for The Athletic and for here and 107.5 The Fan. But
seeing Larry Bird in the parking lot wouldn't have saved you. Yeah,
like,
I'm out.
Exactly.
Get me out of here.
I was thinking he would be disgusted with some of these missed shots last night. So a rough loss, a rough stretch for this team. And I think what Sophie Cunningham said after the game, and maybe we'll pull the audio later throughout the show, but she said something along the lines of, we have to stop saying we have time to figure it out. We have to just figure it out. Yeah. Like this notion that, it's a longer season, we're playing a WNBA record 44 games this year, we have all this time, we'll figure it out. She's like, no, we need to start winning games now. Like, we can figure it out and still win some of these games. And I think she has a good point there when, again, Mark, they're playing a bad Sparks team. Yeah. This is not a good team. And you let them score 35 again in the fourth quarter.
They've played a lot of bad teams, and they haven't looked very good. Now they fall a game under 500. They're also only 4-4 at Gainbridge, which you're not getting that home court advantage at the moment. You're not playing above. You're not getting the fan base going and everything like that. So 4-4 at home, 7-8 now, and it's a quick turnaround. And I don't know this officially, but I almost got to assume Caitlin Clark is not going to play in this game either. You're not getting on a plane after not playing yesterday and with a groin injury and playing tonight. So that's 2 games you're going to be without Caitlin Clark at least. I don't know how long this stretch is either, as far as the injury is concerned as well. Is this a couple games and they reevaluate? Is this a couple weeks? They've got the All-Star game obviously coming up here in Indianapolis, so she's going to be pulling the Halliburton role and playing mayor of the city.
Getting
no
rest, yeah.
Right. So there's a lot on her plate, and the schedule doesn't let up for the Fever, so a lot to get into as well.
So my guess, real quick, would be that she doesn't play tonight in Dallas, the second night of a back-to-back for the team, because if she doesn't, she would have until next Thursday to return and play against the Aces. So to me, why would you risk her coming back and playing on the second night of a back-to-back, even though she didn't play in that first game? Just like you said, the travel, having her play, why risk it when you can essentially give her like a week off to get right and to feel better, presumably, for that Aces game?
So, well, there's also the, because I keep forgetting about this too, there's also the Commissioner's Cup Championship. So,
yes.
So she wouldn't be in there either.
Yeah, that would be July 1st. I'm so sorry about that. You know what? I feel like...
Because it's not on their schedule, so that's why it always throws me off.
Yeah.
It's not
here it
is.
They have it. It's so weird on ESPN.com. They have the schedule listed out in order, but down at the bottom, they have the Commissioner Cup Championship. But again, I think the same point applies.
Yeah.
Can you leave her out tonight, try to get her healthy for July 1st, which is next Tuesday when they play Minnesota Lynx. But even then, like, I get it. You want to win the money in the Commissioner's Cup. It's a lot of, money on the line, and obviously money motivates a lot of us. It's why I'm here early in the morning every day. But
I'm pulling 8 shows in 2 days.
Exactly. But on top of that, risk versus reward. It's like, do you want to risk her having this linger to try to get some money in the, basically the in-season tournament is what the equivalent of this is on the WNBA side? Or do you want to be smart about this and say, hey, if she misses this game, maybe one more, whatever, is it better for our long-term prospects? Because, again, groins they don't go away.
Nope.
Once they come, you have to really sit down and make sure they're good, because if you try to come back too soon, it will really hurt you.
Yep, plenty more to get into. We got the Pacers draft to recap, more Indiana Fever drama. Colts schedule is released for training camp. Larra Overton is going to join us at 8 o'clock. Rafael Barlowe is going to talk NBA draft with us a little later in the show as well. It's Mark Dykton, James Boyd, Kyle, and Terry. It's the Fan Morning Show, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Welcome back to the DriveHubler.com studio. I'm James Boyd, joined by Kylan Talley on the ones and twos, and Mark Dykton.
Yo.
In the co-host chair, filling in for Kevin Bowen, who is very lazy, and Jeff Rickard, who is also lazy. So, but to give real updates on those guys, Jeff is in Charlotte for work, and Kevin, I believe, is making his way to the West Coast out in Oregon for a golf trip, which I'm jealous of. I can't swing a club to save my life, but Oregon sounds nice this time of year.
Oregon is nice. Oregon is a nice town. I was like, are you guys going to like stop at the University of Oregon? He's like, I don't know if we have time. I'm like, you better make time. That campus is immaculate. That campus is absurd.
Exactly.
So I think he's going to go out there and swing it. So, yeah, Kevin will be back on Wednesday, I believe. So
yes, and then Jeff will be back Monday. But until then, it is our show, and we'll take it here next. I had a chance to go to the Fever game last night. First home game for me in a while to see them play in person. And it was a rough ending. But before we'd even get into the game part, which was, third loss in, I believe, 4 games.
Yep.
They lost a player to sort of some dysfunction, some drama. And we heard from, Fever GM, COO, Amber Cox on why they moved on and eventually waived DeWanna Bonner. Here's what she had to say about that manner.
Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer.
Let's try this again.
One is a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, one of the best that's ever played our game. We were really excited when she decided to come here in the off season. And, as we got into the season, she just expressed that she didn't feel like it was a good fit for her. We talked through that. We had conversations. Obviously, we made some adjustments to lineup, some of the things we were doing. And we just couldn't get it to a place where, it felt good for her. And, so as we got further along in the process, we explored trade options. And then just, it's pretty early in the season, given the level of DeWanna's contract, we just couldn't find something suitable. So at the end of the day, we respect her status as a veteran in this league. We had the opportunity to bring Ari back around the timing with the 10-day wait period. So we just felt like it was best for all parties to part ways. Wish her nothing but the best. Sorry it didn't work out, but we move on, and we're excited about the team that we have on the court, and yeah.
The decision to have her not be with you guys was listed as personal reasons. Was that a team decision, or was that a Bonner thing? Both? How exactly would you characterize that?
Yeah, I think as we were going through the process, it just felt better for her to step away, Again, as we were sorting through what it was going to look like, if it could be a return, exploring a trade. Again, it wasn't a decision that any of us made lightly. So it was a lot of conversations, and again, as we got into that process of exploring a trade, and we knew it likely was not going to be something that was going to last the duration of the season, we gave her that opportunity to step away.
Yeah, so to sort of recap that and give some more clarity, the Ari that Amber Cox was talking about in the interview was Ari McDonald, who they brought back. She previously played for the team, I believe 3 games on a hardship contract, impressed. And they brought her back to replace DeWanna Bonner in a sense after they waived DeWanna Bonner. But I thought the entire breakdown of what she said about, the fit not being what it was, trying to sort of work it out with DeWanna Bonner, so recognizing she's one of the greatest players in WNBA history. All of that to me was them taking the high road, because at the end of the day, one of your best free agent signings set I want out after playing 9 games for the franchise.
So we have a lot of unknowns about the DeWanna Bonner situation. Obviously, we have what Amber Cox said. DeWanna Bonner posted on Instagram that the truth will come out about not being a quitter and this and that. Eddie and I, who were on the midday yesterday, shout out Eddie Garrison, we kind of went both ways with it, where we said there could be stuff that we don't know, that how this soured so quickly. Eddie's thought was also, did it actually sour, or did DeWanna Bonner, being a veteran, come in hoping to make it work? And then she had also mentioned before, these young guns are moving down the court really quickly, this and that. Did she have it in her mind where she's like, I can't keep up, and so maybe I need to go somewhere that has a more of my style and more of my pace thing? I don't know if that's true, but that was just a counter argument that he had. That was that's actually, everybody's thinking of the worst, and I'm not arguing that there couldn't be some sour grapes out there. But that also was another thing that I wasn't really thinking. Maybe she, as the veteran, was like, you know what? I thought this would work, but I can't keep up, and I'm not getting the best out of me, and they're not getting the best out of. I'm not getting the best out of me or the organization, so it's best if I go in a different direction and play with a more team that fits my style. Your thoughts on that? That was Eddie's thought. I'm curious what you think.
I'm very curious maybe, but part of me, and shout out to Chloe Peterson for the video from that audio, by the way, the one who shared that yesterday. Chloe's been all over this. She actually broke the news that DeWanna Bonner was being waived for Aaron McDonald. So shout out to Indy Star. Support local journalism when you can. But getting back to the question you asked, proxy of Eddie Garrison, who always gets my gears turning. I think that when it comes to that, I would lean more towards it being just an overall fit thing, more so than like a can I run the floor, can I keep up type of thing, because she's been a very good player in all different styles throughout her career, up and down, whether it's a slower pace, whether it's as a starter, whether it's as a reserve. Now, for those who are saying, why can't she be a reserve again? She hasn't come off the bench in years.
Right.
In years. So maybe she feels like the right or entitled to a starting position, but objectively speaking, there is no way I would start her over Lexi Hull.
No, not at all. Lexi Hull has outperformed her bar none.
By far.
Yeah.
And I think that any WNBA team, any WNBA coach would say, no, we're not starting you over Lexi Hull. And perhaps that was an issue. But the bottom line is, it almost feels like you didn't give it enough of a chance. You know what I mean? Like, you're dealing with some injuries overall, and then you say, amid those injuries, amid your role, usage, and change, I want out, which is totally fine. It's all within your right. But when people, call you a quitter, I don't know how you – I mean, two things can be true. You can quit on the team and then still want to go play somewhere else.
Right.
But I don't know how you are not perceived as a quitter when you said, I want out.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here anymore. You didn't say, I want to work it out or keep, you said, I don't. It got so bad to a point where you would rather be away from the team altogether than to show up and try to support them in any capacity that you can. So, tough situation overall for her and for the team. And I think the biggest thing now is, and you know me, Mark, I love my pettiness.
Yes, you do.
I love me some tea, some arguing and, back and forth.
I think that's on your bio. It says, at Romeoville Kid, King of Petty.
King of Petty. I need her to join a team that still has a game against the Fever in Gamers Fieldhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I need that. Because either way it goes, if you come back and you beat the Fever, you can tell them, I told you so, I'm better than whatever you all were telling me I was. But if you lose, oh, man, the fan base will get crazy.
Yeah, I need to look to see if the Phoenix Mercury, which she hasn't signed with, but that's the team where her fiance Alyssa Thomas is at.
Yes, and they do have enough, cap space now because she'll be most likely on a veteran minimum deal to go join that team. So
I mean, I'm looking right now, July 30th at Gamebridge, Phoenix at Indiana. I'm just saying, Wednesday, July 30th.
I'm rubbing my hands together because I'm excited for the pettiness. But yeah, I mean, it's a bad look. Wherever way you slice it, it is a bad look for both the franchise and the player because she was one of the most headline grabbing free agent acquisitions in your team's history, and it ends like that.
Yeah, I think when that first happened, we're like, wow, that is a move that was a wow move because that was a big name player coming to Indiana to pair with Caitlin Clark, and we're kind of like, okay, this is kind of how it's going to be from here on out, where the veterans who want to get a championship are going to come to Indiana because they want to play. That's what I thought. Yep. So the fact that it soured so quickly, I liked Eddie's point because it was something it was an out of the box scenario that I hadn't thought of. I also think. Still, it doesn't sour that quickly. And
like, dang, 9 games?
Yeah, 9 games, and you're pulling the ripcord. So, DeWanna Bonner, we don't know where she's heading right now. Phoenix looks like the likely destination, or maybe Atlanta. She mentioned those two teams as possibilities where she wants to land. But while DeWanna Bonner is out of the picture right now, we have to turn the page to Caitlin Clark and her latest injury now, a groin injury, out last night against the LA Sparks. Most likely out today against the Dallas Wings because it's out a road game. I can't imagine you're getting on a plane and you're playing with a groin injury. The Commissioner's Cup is on Tuesday. This whole timeline for Caitlin Clark, where do you think we're at here as far as when she might play again? Because this seems like not just a couple of games. This might be a week or two again without Caitlin Clark.
It's a tough situation because had they not made the Commissioner's Cup championship, they would have off until July 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
But since they did, like you said, they'll be back in action Tuesday, July 1st. And so I almost think that the conversation will come down to, is this worth the money and the potential risk to put her out there when we need her to be at our best later this season. And you don't want it to become a thing where Caitlin Clark comes back for a few games, she does a little something, she feels pretty good, and she's out for a few games because she hasn't fully recovered from whatever else was ailing her. So already having 2 injuries throughout this sophomore campaign, I would imagine that they're very cautious with her. So we'll see what happens Tuesday. But in my mind, I'm like, man, that Thursday might sound a little bit better when it comes to just rest and recovery.
Yeah, and the Commissioner's Cup, I mean, you're playing Minnesota also. Like, Minnesota is just, they are monsters right now. So I don't know how much of a chance you have even with Caitlin Clark, because at 12-2, Minnesota Lynx are rolling through the WNBA. But it's another reminder that the WNBA schedule, it's longer than it has ever been. It also means that there's a lot more going on where there's game after game after game. Caitlin Clark already missed some games earlier today. She's going to miss more this season. And not only that, but I went back to the whole thing of the All-Star game is in Indianapolis. And we remember when the NBA All-Star game was here, how Tyrese Halliburton was basically the mayor of the city. He was doing all the glad handing, kissing babies, doing all the appearances, playing in the games like that. Caitlin Clark is going to be expected to be the Tyrese Halliburton of the WNBA All-Star game when it comes into town, whether she's healthy or not. And it's another reminder that Tyrese Halliburton, we kept saying when the NBA All-Star game was here, is like, man, it'd be great if he could rest. And there was no rest for that man during that week-long thing. There's not going to be any rest for Caitlin Clark either.
No.
And that's the thing is, when we want them to get rest, they don't get it. And when we think there will be rest, there isn't going to be any. So now you have the groin injury on top of everything else. You got the games starting to stack up. The team is under 500 now. You're at 500 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So it's a mixed bag so far with Caitlin Clark's sophomore season. Not only the health issues, she's also struggling on the court as far as shots are concerned. I think you threw a stat out there yesterday. She's like, 1 of 23 or something?
Yeah, her last 3 games before the injury from 3.
So something's not right there, and now it's kind of a wait and see once again of when she'll be back on the court. I kind of tend to think it's going to be a little longer than just a couple games.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you're dealing with the star player. You need to be very, very cautious with that. And, for Indiana sports fans, they're like, man, we already went through enough with Tyrese. Like, don't have her going out there when she doesn't need to and make things worse, considerably worse than they are right now. So we'll see.
Since we are talking Pacers, we'll talk keys to the game. That was last night's game against the LA Sparks. 85-75 loss to Los Angeles. Azura Stevens, 25 points, and Kelsey Plum, 23 points. And keys to the game was not great. You said 35 points in the fourth quarter by the LA Sparks. That was the difference. I mean, you were disgusted by that fourth quarter. That really is what turned the game around in the LA Sparks direction.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's anytime you give up that many points in the fourth quarter, you don't rebound like you should, it is just a really bad, in my opinion, performance. And I thought after the game, Sophie Cunningham put it all out there on the table and said, we have to just be better. We can look at the injuries. I believe Scott Agnes might have had a chance to ask her, hey, what about the back-to-back, the schedule, 6 games in 11 days? She's like, look, every WNBA team has tough parts of their schedule. We can't use that as an excuse either. We just have to perform better. And I liked her saying that flatly as she did, because even without Caitlin Clark, they have enough talent to stack some wins against these teams, and they're just not doing it. I thought Leah Boston was rough last night. I believe she was like 4 for 13 from the field after being pretty efficient throughout the last game against the Seattle Storm. Really, this entire season, she had a poor game. So, again, a chance to bounce back tonight against Dallas, but it's not like they're going to give you anything. You can't just pencil in any wins in this league. No.
You give up 35 points in the fourth quarter. You also allow your opponent to score 50% from the field. You're not going to win too many of those games. And the Fever did not win that game. 85-75 losers to the LA Sparks. Keys of the game brought to you by the Hubler Automotive Group. As always, Hubler's got you covered for 200,000 miles. So we'll talk more Fever in a little bit later. We got Larra Overton to talk Colts training camp schedule in about 15 minutes. James, your thoughts on the training camp schedule? How, as a reporter, is it a big deal when the training camp schedule comes out for you? Or are you kind of like, I already know I'm going to be out there. I just need to know what time I need to be there. How early?
Yeah, I should probably have a better answer for you, Mark, but I am very much I will know the night before what time I have to be somewhere. So when I look at the schedule, it's like, oh, yeah, I forgot there's 13 training camp days out there, and it's at this time and that time. Doesn't bother me, at all. I just know that, okay, July 23rd, I have to be out there because they're actually practicing on that day. So to me, it is a bit exciting because I think that training camp offers me the chance as a reporter to connect with the fans and the listeners to our show, people who read my work at The Athletic, more than any other opportunity throughout the year. So that is always the cool thing about it. I'll usually get there fairly early before practice starts, go out there and talk to some people, and you'll hear people say, hey, I heard you on the Fan, or I read this story. What are your thoughts on this and that? What's your thoughts on that? I actually have a bracelet from one of the families that I connected with. Shout out to little Evie, one of the Colts fans.
Nice.
And her father, Joel, and her mom as well. They're really cool people. Kate. And she gave me a bracelet last year at training camp, and I've been wearing it like literally every day since.
Nice.
With my name on it. So those opportunities to sort of connect with fan bases is always fun. But overall, I mean, I'm just hot most of the time. Yeah. I'm hot, and I'm tracking passes that it seems like it's such a big deal in the moment. And I don't know if like for you and Kylan, like it is fascinating because training camp, like the amount of engagement I get on social media, the amount of followers I gain, people just lose their minds over any little bit. Mm-hmm. And I try to feed the beast, and I try to be, very vigilant in my reporting and whatever's going on. But I could not tell you what Anthony Richardson's accuracy was last year, completion percentage throughout training camp on a random Tuesday in July or August. But it's going to seem like it matters so much. And then we're going to look up and the season starts, and we're not going to remember anything that happened there. So it's always funny to see how much it matters in the moment versus how much it doesn't matter a month from then.
You need to send out one video of an Anthony Richardson completion and one video of an Anthony Richardson incompletion. And you'll have more engagement than ever before. He's a bust. Oh, there it is. I see it now. Here he comes.
It's so bad. And I try to wait to put out all of like my tweets, because if you tweet in the moment, it's like, oh man, Daniel Jones just threw a pick. Oh, he's horrible. He's terrible. Start Anthony. Anthony Richardson just almost got picked off. Oh my gosh, they're get rid of him, start Daniel Jones. So I expect a lot of that this offseason. But 13 practices out there. I believe they have a couple of night-ish practices.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to those as well. And again, if you're out there and you see me, say what's up. I'm sure I'll say what's up back and try to give you all the same love you all give me to do what I do and kind of live the dream.
If you're going out to Westfield and you see James Boyd at training camp, have him sign your bucket hat. If you own a bucket hat, I want somebody to have James Boyd autograph their bucket hat.
So
make
what's
that
crazy?
happen.
I do, and this has happened every now and then. I'm not saying I'm not famous at all, but whenever somebody will ask me for an autograph, I'm like, you do not want this. I am not an athlete. I am not someone who is, and it's usually like a kid who's just too naive to know. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no. Your parents need to tell you, like, get the third string running back over me. Like, right. I have not played a sport at this level ever in my life.
I think I've been asked for an autograph like twice in my life, and I've both times I'm like, this is lost value now, right? Like some random dude's name is on here. No one knows who I am.
Exactly.
Nor should you. No one should want my autograph. For those who did miss it, though, Colts training camp does start Wednesday, July 23rd. 6 of the 13 practices, admission is free. You still need tickets for those. There are tickets that are $5 for fans 18 and older for their prime time days. I think that's July 26th and 31st, August 2nd, 3rd, 9th, and 10th. Kids 17 and under are free. But you need tickets for all that. And then there's joint practices with the Green Bay Packers. Those tickets are $10 for fans 18 or over.
Mark is just dying to go watch the Packers.
I will boo. I already said, like, somebody said, are you going to be in attendance when the Colts take on the Steelers? Because my Aaron Rodgers hate is never ending. And I said, not only should I be at that game, the Colts should bring me in for a pregame speech because I will have them running through brick walls. That man stinks out there. You need to end his life out there.
Yeah, you need to retire
end his
him.
career. For my sake.
I will say that has to be some motivation.
You put me out there for the Packers, and those guys will be hitting like no one's business. So I'm open.
In
Colts.
Training camp.
Let me know.
Oh, Lord.
Shane Steichen, you want to see those guys at 100%? Let me give a little pregame speech ahead of their Packers joint practice.
I'll text him and
set it all up. That is August 14th, by the way. I'm going to try to get out there. I will be booing like crazy. Those, I will not, you're supposed to be like impartial in sports radio. I will not be impartial if the Packers are in town.
I love the honesty.
Yeah. You also need parking passes and all that stuff. All that information you can find at the Colts website. We're going to have Larra Overton in just a few minutes as well, go over more stuff with training camp. And before we head to Larra Overton, any just overall thoughts heading into Colts training camp? Obviously, the training camp starts in less than a month. The all eyes are going to be on Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Tyler Warren is obviously the rookie that everyone is going to have their eyes on. Is there a position group in your eyes that has your eye that you think maybe there's camp battles that can be won?
Yeah, absolutely. I think beyond the obvious ones being quarterback, perhaps cornerback, Beyond Jonathan Taylor, what does the rest of your running back room look like? Khalil Herbert, they signed the veteran. I believe he played in Chicago for a little while there, Mark. And then
he did.
DJ Giddens.
I like that, man. I think Khalil Herbert is going to do very well for the Colts. I like him a lot.
He's a solid. I believe for his career, he's averaged over 4 yards a carry for his career, which is, a solid number. And I think DJ Giddens out of Kansas State, he had a prolific career with are they the Wildcats? I believe they're the Wildcats. And he looks like he's pretty good throughout the spring. So what can he bring as far as another element to that running back room? And then beyond that, I think linebacker is probably my biggest one, just because you don't have any depth there. Assuming that Zaire Franklin and Jalen Carlisle aren't ready to go at the start of training camp. If they aren't ready to go, who's out there, who's getting reps, and would the performance of some of those linebackers who are behind them inform you to either go get somebody else or tell you, hey, maybe we got our guys? Because as we know, Chris Ballard, he tends to go into the season with one position group that always has like a glaring hole in it. And to me, this year, that's linebacker. So
that is exactly what I said to Matt Taylor yesterday on the midday show.
Yeah,
linebacker is what I've circled.
I know, but I guess to end it, on a relatively important note, kicker is another one.
Yep.
I know kicker is like the most unsexy, unflattering position. No one really cares about it until you miss kicks. And so they got rid of Matt Gay, who was struggling last year and really just didn't play up to his contract. But he didn't miss from inside 50 last year, I believe. And now you bring in Spencer Schrader, who has a big leg, but he only has 5 kicks to his name in the NFL. His rookie year was last year. He went 5 for 5, but none of those were beyond 50 yards. And so he's going to be in a kicking battle with Maddox Trujillo out of, I believe, Temple. So that'll be something to keep an eye on as well because, again, we don't care about it until they miss kicks. And I believe last year it was something like maybe 5 out of the Colts' 8 wins were, decided by 3 points or less. And then 3 out of their 9 losses were decided by 3 points or less.
Yeah.
So, again, the NFL comes down to one-possession games, oftentimes 3-point games, and you need that kicking to be at a high level.
Plenty more Colts talk to get into. Larra Overton going to join us in just a few minutes. It's Mark Dykton, James Boyd, and Kylan Talley. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ooh, I like that, Kylan. Nice little throwback. Feeling good on the front. She's over here swaying side to side. I feel like I need to get my lighter out or like my phone and sway at a concert. But for those listening, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to 935-1075 The Fan. There's Mark Dykton over there. I'm James Boyd, of course. Colin Talley on the ones and twos. And a little bit different setup today for those just tuning in at the top of the hour. I believe that Kevin Bowen is out in Oregon or making his way to Oregon for a golf trip. And then Jeff is out for work in Charlotte. So you are stuck with me and Mark, who I believe are doing a solid job so far, if I do say so myself.
Kevin was asking me if airports are open 24/7. He's like, he's all worried about when he's leaving. He's like, I've never been on a flight this early. Can I get to the airport? I'm like, Kevin, yes, airports are open 24/7.
That is spoken like the man who now has 2 children and has not traveled.
There's security, there's workers, there's also people that flights got canceled. They got nowhere else to go. Yes. Well, he's all worried.
One person who is actually here to help us do our jobs, Larra Overton here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Larra, how you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm great. Thanks for having me. Always fun to get to hop on with you.
Yeah, so obviously we got our training camp schedule, and she is also, I want to say I am a bucket hat wearer. Larra's usually in the bucket hat as well when we're out there in Westfield when it's hot at Grand Park. But I'll start here, Larra. Before we get into the training camp schedule, and I mean, those of you who want to check it out, it's out there on the Colts.com website. But, we didn't have a chance to catch up with you before really after the passing of Jim Irsay and the transition from Jim Irsay to his daughters taking over the team. So if you'd like to share just with our audience, what did Jim Irsay mean to you personally and professionally, and also your relationship you have with his daughters who are now, kind of pioneers, I think, in this sport as far as being women's leaders and kind of, moving the needle forward from that regard?
I do think that, in these last few weeks, it has been incredible just to see the outpouring of support and how many people across the league, across sports, have supported Kaylin, Carly, Casey, and just really indicated how, excited they are for this era, for football, for the Colts, of course, not with these circumstances, so to speak. That's the difficulty of it all. And Kaylin, I thought, spoke just so beautifully about that when they had the press conference, that he did prepare them for this, and this was his dream, knowing he would never live to see, that inevitably he wouldn't be there to see it happen. So I thought that was just so incredible how she spoke about that, and, obviously work very closely and really value my relationships with each of the 3 of them, and very grateful for all the opportunities that we have. And in particular, working a lot with Kaylin on the Kicking the Stigma side, community, marketing, a lot of those areas in which we're really involved with. And with, Mr. Irsay, I just think about just the opportunities that he has afforded people. Like, without Mr. Irsay's support, I wouldn't be able to be in the NFL. I wouldn't have the job that I did. And I think because of the way that he always made sure his daughters had a place in the organization and knew that there was a pathway for them, I feel like he was kind of, even pre-Kobe Bryant, he was kind of the OG girl dad, right? Like, with having 3 daughters and encouraging them to be involved in football. And I think he also, by that, afforded a lot of opportunities for women in the sport as well, and was very open-minded in seeing the opportunities that were there and that should be there outside of just the traditional pathway. And I shared this memory with someone just recently, but I remember doing my very first sit-down with Mr. Irsay when I was hired, and I wanted to be so prepared. I wanted him, to just know that I had, studied, that I had done all my research, that I was, well in tune with the team. And this was at training camp a few years ago. And because I just wanted to impress him, wanted to, earn his respect and let him know, like, okay, I've worked to be here and all that. And he walks in and he was so, like, vivacious, and just, his passion just exuded so much passion about the team. And here I had my questions written out, and I'd studied them so much because I wanted to memorize them, not have to use my notes. He sits down, we get one question in. I don't need the notes anymore because it no longer mattered what my questions were, so to speak, or how well I knew my questions. It became listening to him. And hearing him talk about what he saw in this team and what was important for him to see from this team and what was important about this city and about the season and all of these things. And it was always just, that's one of those to me that is a highlight of opportunities within my career, and just something when having a situation that's not a big press conference, it was just the two of us and it was two videographers in a more intimate setting. And I am just so grateful for having those kinds of experiences. And then since then too, I think that so much vulnerability that he showed when we would shoot Taking the Stigma videos, the different PSAs and different testimonials, and at the Beyond the Sidelines events, he would always get up and share a bit and speak as part of that event as well. So I think being able to see him, away from just game days has been so impactful for me and something that I just cherish so much.
Larra, that seems to be one of the consensus thoughts on Jim Irsay. Is he was just one of the more caring, engaging individuals. Didn't matter if you were, Peyton Manning or a low-level intern. He was just always engaging and just gave you the time of day, and it was always seems like he was just a genuine guy.
Absolutely. So genuine, so generous. And I think just one of the things was too is he loved big and lived big. I think that's one of the things is you could just tell it's so genuine in his love of his team, his love of his family, love of this city, and certainly love of all of those players who have come through and are with the organization.
Yeah, that is very true. Switching topics, no easy transition, but obviously the training camp schedule came out yesterday. Colts head into camp July 23rd at Westfield. Break camp after their August 14th joint practice with the Green Bay Packers. Any notable training camp highlights that you saw on the schedule yesterday that intrigue you?
I always love a good joint practice opportunity. Interesting that it's the one with Green Bay. The last few years, I feel like we've had two of those leading up to the second preseason game. So that's going to be a huge opportunity, obviously, for the Colts from a competition aspect. I know we always hear so much from Coach Steichen in particular about how you get such great competition. And we know from Shane, practices are very up-tempo, very fast-paced, so you get a lot of action in that, 1 hour, 2 hour window, whatever it might be. So super excited for that. There are a lot of those primetime practices that are going to be the later afternoon or the very evening practices. I know there's, one's at 8 p.m. Practice. That's, I think, on the 31st. So that's going to be really fun. I always love getting an opportunity, just to feel kind of old school, fire up the lights, play a little football, right, on a summer evening. Those are all ones for me, I think, that I was looking to. It's 13 total open practices for fans, 7 of those are the prime time. So the Colts will they'll go to Baltimore, of course, to have a joint practice opportunity before the first preseason game, and then also have that joint practice opportunity with the Green Bay Packers going into that second week of the preseason. So that's all of those are going to be, that's that point where we should start seeing, especially when you get to that Green Bay week, this is where you really should start seeing this team, solidified. And, you really have some of those position battles where are hopefully starting to separate.
So beyond quarterback, and we have Larra Overton from the Colts, who's a sideline reporter, producer, host, and just does all things Colts. I feel like
she's an every woman. She does it all.
I was gonna say, I don't know what your official title is, Larra. I just know it's a lot of cool things over there with the Colts. Joining us here on the Pale Slickers Hotline. Beyond quarterback, Larra, what are some other positions that you're looking at, or just trends for this team that you're gonna keep a close eye on throughout training camp? I know everyone's talking about Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson. We'll cover that plenty, but it's more than just a quarterback, right? So, what are some things that you're looking at?
I was talking to someone yesterday, and I pointed to, I'm most excited to see this Lou Anarumo defense and the additions of Cam Bynum and Mooney Ward and, JT Tuimoloau on this defensive line, and then the linebacker group alongside Zaire Franklin. What does that look like? I'm looking all over this defense and what this is going to look like with Lou. Had a conversation with Kwity Paye just before the guys broke camp. he was telling me he's super excited about some new things that he might be doing within this defense as well, some opportunities that's going to create for him. I spent some time with Law too. Guys were just raving about Lou. We kind of have heard the guys, James, talk about a little bit of mad scientist type of mentality about the defense. And he approaches this defense with a direct intensity. And so far, what I've seen is the guys have embraced it and are so excited to put that on display. So I want to see this defense, day one, like the first day they get in pads, I want to see them getting after it, right? As much as you kind of can in those situations. But that to me, especially with how many of those kind of free agent guys, how many guys via draft that you have added. And then, I'm stating the obvious here, and a lot of people are, but get Tyler Warren. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get eyes on him. There's a great video piece that you're going to see going out over the next few days. Jack Doyle did a Tyler Warren film breakdown.
Oh yeah.
And
now you're talking.
Right? So this is something you're going to see JJ Stankiewicz sit down with Jack, and they broke down some tape. And I'm going to say, Jack, in our experiences, Jack is the most steady person ever, right, James?
Yep.
At some point, I would dare to say that Jack Doyle got a little giddy about what he was seeing from Tyler Warren.
Okay.
So for me, those are the areas that I'm going to point to for sure.
Colts sideline reporter and every woman, Larra Overton, joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Larra, position battles heading into camp. Obviously, the Colts quarterback competition will be top of mind, but other position battles, like for me, linebacker is one that I'm circling that I'll have my eyes on. Where do you lie?
Yeah, that's, kind of what I indicated with you, just, talking about the new additions to that defense for sure. I don't know so much if you're kind of position battle, quote unquote. I think the wide receivers are pretty solidified with where they are. I will say an area that intrigues me because of the new guys you have stepping in there, it's going to be this offensive line with what that is going to look like. Excited for those opportunities for Matt Gonsalves and Tanner Bordolini. But we know that they're going to have to earn that, right? They each have had time last year when they got in the rotation. But I think that those are two in terms of you've got to solidify that starting five offensive line. There's a lot of expectation on those guys. So I'm excited to see what they do with the opportunities they have. Tony Sperano, I don't know that people outside of the organization give Tony Sperano enough credit for what he has done with this offensive line. But truly, I think one of the best position group coaches in the entire league. The other thing I'll say that's kind of in tandem with that is backup running back behind Jonathan Taylor. We saw what happened when you were without Zach Moss for that year. It was such a fun 1-2 tandem, that punch that you had with those two guys. So, and then you've had Trey Sermon, you've had Tyler Goodson. Tyler's obviously back there. You've made some moves to add some guys in that position group. I think BJ Giddens is a very intriguing weapon for this offense. So that's kind of an area where I'm excited to watch and see what they do with that group in particular and how they split up the reps for the backs behind JT.
Larra, last one for me. The player you're most looking forward to seeing in action at Westfield, non-quarterback, non-Tyler Warren edition.
Player I'm most excited. Okay, A.D. Mitchell.
I like that.
That's a good one.
I like
that. That's a good one.
I'm not. That's it. Yep.
Yeah,
I was I pondered for a second, and I was like, no, that's it.
Yeah, A.D. Mitchell, a lot of people want to see him obviously translate a lot of the big plays he's made throughout the spring, throughout practice onto the field, and he's talking as if he's ready to do so, so we'll see here in a couple months. The last one from me, Larra, we talked about this yesterday. There was no way we were going to have you on and we weren't going to nerd out a little bit about running. Larra's the person I talked to about running. I did it in high school. I think the fastest mile I ran, when I was in my prime, Larra, as I said, as a 29-year-old, might have been, 5:20 or something like that. And that's
quick.
Yeah. I mean, I was with it. I was committed back then, but obviously,
with all the junk James Boyd talks, you have to be quick. You have to run away.
This is true. I'm a very diplomatic human being, man. Not a lot of fighting growing up. I was running from people, but we did see Faith. Excuse me, I'm trying to say her last name. I think it's Kipyegon.
Kipyegon.
Kipyegon she went for the 4-minute mile, the first woman to try to break 4 minutes. She did not break 4 minutes, ran 4:06. But as a runner yourself, the daily mile that you do, which is now on day, feels like 10,000, whatever. What's your thoughts on her pushing the boundary like that and bringing attention to a sport like track and field, which you know you love dearly?
I love it so much because actually you mentioned KB is out in Oregon. I was in Oregon 2 weeks ago for the NCAA championships, Hayward Field, which hosted the World Championships a few years ago, where I was there announcing, had the opportunity. That was my first time seeing Faith in person and watching her race, and she's just incredible. Have had another opportunity since, but there was the excitement surrounding this event was so much fun to watch. I loved just everything about it, the build up to it. I thought all of the innovation that they put behind her, the investment that was made. It was cool to see how they did the pace duties. They had an entire group there that was trying to pace her. And for those listening, for context, Faith holds the world record in the mile. It was previously 4:07.6. So to go from you're talking about shaving almost 8 seconds off to do this, to try to be the first woman to break 4 minutes. So she ended up going 4:06. So she didn't break 4 minutes, but what she did do is she improved upon her own world record. And something she said afterwards is she said, I hope that this proves that this is going to happen. Like, we will see a woman break 4. And if it's not me, maybe this gets the next woman a step further. And that is just who she is in terms of, yeah, she wanted to do it, but she's also just excited for the investment that's being made and the excitement that's been made surrounding this, that maybe she helps a woman in, maybe it's 5 more years away or however far we are from seeing it happen. Maybe what she has done has helped advance that opportunity. And I was thinking about this last night in that it can be so terrifying to just boldly state a goal publicly. Like, James, when you were starting out in your career, like, you may have been tentative. I know I was at times to tell people, I want to be a sports reporter. I want to do television.
Right.
Like, if I don't do this, will I look like a failure? Will I be embarrassed? Or, you would get nervous for me. Like, my parents traveled all over the country going to track meets. And, I'd be like, oh, if I don't run well, I'll feel so bad that they did all this. For me, I thought about this. Like, to watch Faith chase such a huge goal with the massive investment, the tension upon it, I think it gives a lot of people permission to be like, I'm going to stake these goals. I'm going to go after this. I really do think that she is inspiring, not just within track and field, but I think just to be unapologetic in the aspirations that you have and boldly stating those goals that you're chasing, whether they're track and field or they're sports related or not. And I thought that was really cool because a lot of people could say, oh, sure, I want to break the world record, but I don't want to say it because if I don't, who will I disappoint? And to think about, oh man, Nike made all of this investment. There's all these people watching. If I don't do it, they would shy away from it and they would shut down. Instead, what Faith did is rises up, runs 4:06 for the mile, proves that she's the greatest female miler ever, one of the greatest middle distance runners in history. And that not only is she going to continue to chase that goal herself, but she's going to make sure that no other female hesitates to chase it on her own either.
I can't say it any better than that. Larra, thank you so much for your time. Keep running, my friend, and I will see you very, very soon.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me. Have a great weekend, guys.
All right. Again, that's Larra Overton, the Colts sideline reporter, joining us there on the Payless Liquors hotline. I thought she had an interesting point there, Mark, when she mentioned players she wants to see the most, not named a quarterback or not named Tyler Warren. A.D. Mitchell, I feel like he's like a hot button topic for the Colts.
Oh, without question, yeah.
Because of the immense amount of talent he has, but also the gap between the talent and the production that we saw last year. So I think a lot of eyes will be on him, not only throughout training camp, but throughout the season. Like, hey, man, with Alec Pierce going into a contract year, there's no guarantee they re-sign him after just giving Michael Pittman Jr. a big money. So they pay Josh Downs as well. So in theory, you would like to see A.D. Mitchell take a significant step forward in case he is that third receiver that you need to step up if Alec Pierce is out the door. So he's got some pressure on him for sure.
Well, yeah, because we saw that he could get open. The problem was he could get open. He just couldn't hold on to the ball when it came his way. So that is going to be, I totally agree. Larra Overton knocked it out of the park with that answer because that's going to be a guy that a lot of people have circled as far as guys they want to see more. Because you want to see, you can't argue that it was a disappointing rookie season for him because it was. So now you got to see, has he grown since the offseason, and can he bring that and make it translate on the field? There'll be a lot to pay attention to. So plenty of Colts talk still coming away. Again, Colts training camp opening July 23rd out in Westfield. Larra, Overton, again, thank you for the time. Kylan, let's get into a morning check down. All right, the Indiana Fever. They were without Caitlin Clark, who suffered a groin injury, and she'll be reevaluated. Not sure her status going forward, but they came up short against the LA Sparks last night, 85-75 losers. Azura Stevens led all scores with 23 points. Kelsey Plum at 21. Sparks dropped 35 points in the fourth quarter. James Boyd was disgusted. He couldn't even handle it. He wanted to leave early. He didn't, but he wanted to because it was that ugly.
That was some bad basketball. I mean, you think about it, the Sparks scored 30 points in the first half.
Yeah.
35 in the fourth quarter, just unacceptable. And I think Sophie Cunningham hit it right on the head after the game. Yeah, you keep saying you got all this time to figure it out, but you don't necessarily have that much time. You're a third of the way through the season. You got to start putting some wins together.
Yeah, and the Sparks had 50% from the field, so you're not going to win too many games when you're knocking down 50% from the field, and you're also giving up 35 points in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Kelsey Mitchell did lead the Fever with 20 points. They're right back at it tonight when they visit the Dallas Wings. Tip-off for that one is at 7:30. You can always hear it right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Eddie Garrison will have your pre- and post-game coverage. Cubs shut out the Cardinals for the second straight game. Reds host the Padres this weekend. Indianapolis Indians got obliterated by the Omaha Storm Chasers, 17-2.
Huh?
Yeah.
17?
17.
Oh, Lord.
I know. That was a football score right there. That was a Big Ten football score. Draft-wise, the Pacers did make some moves. They were quiet in day one, but they did make a trade to get the 38th overall pick last night in the second round of the NBA draft. They selected guard Cam Jones from Marquette. And then with the 54th pick, they took Liberty guard Talon Peter. We talked about it a little bit. Shocked. I was surprised they did not go big man at some point with one of those picks. Back-to-back guards for the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, I'm not, necessarily shocked by it, but I did expect to see a big. Without saying that, it kind of makes sense in my mind because when we get that late in the draft, I think you're picking best player available.
You
at
are
that
throwing
point.
darts, my friend.
Yeah, you're not necessarily looking for need, but yeah, two guards lets me know they're probably going to target. In addition to bringing back Miles Turner, someone else in free agency to supplement them in the front court. I'm sorry.
Yep. After the draft completed, the Pacers also signed UConn big man Samson Johnson and East Carolina guard R.J. Felton. So we'll turn the page from the Pacers NBA draft, which flew by, and now we'll get ready for the Summer League. And then, of course, all eyes turn to Miles Turner and the contract extension, which Rick Carlisle joined us earlier in the week. He said, pretty much said his piece that he would like to have Miles Turner back, and he's a big part of what they try to do. So I would be absolutely stunned if Miles Turner does not sign an extension with the Pacers at some point this year.
Yeah, just get it done. And honestly, as a writer, we probably have this stuff pre-written in our system somewhere. That way, when it does happen, we'll just hit publish.
Yep. Yep, it's just sitting there in the drafts, just gathering dust.
There you go.
And also, so right next to that is like Andrew Luck has returned to football, right? That one's still sitting there too.
I have a couple of stories. I was going through my old ones. I can't say all of them on air because a lot of it wasn't like substantiated with the corresponding move. But yeah, there's some alternate reality articles in my laptop right now, for sure.
Oh, to go through James Boyd's laptop. That is something I'd like to do and just see what he's got written up there. More fun on the way. Plenty more to get into. Again, I'm Mark Dykton, James Boyd, Kylan Talley on the ones and twos. It's the Fan Morning Show, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Yo, what's up? It's Friday. Mark Dykton, James Boyd, Kylan in studio. It's Fan Morning Show. Kevin Bowen out in the skies trying to go to Oregon to swing the golf balls. Hopefully not hit any whales when he knocks it in the ocean a couple times. Jeff Rickard, he'll be back on Monday. He's out in Charlotte doing his thing. James Boyd, we talked a little bit of Colts with Larra Overton. Got your guy Rafael Barlowe joining us at the top of the hour. Talk some NBA draft, see what he thought of the Pacers going back-to-back guards in the NBA draft last night with the 38th and 54th overall picks. But there's some fever drama going on. There's some fever drama on the court and off the court. On the court, they've lost the LA Sparks 85-75 last night. Now they're without Caitlin Clark. DeWanna Bonner has been waived. A lot going on with Stephanie White's team.
Yeah, it certainly is. And they look like a team that cannot find a rhythm. I was actually going through their schedule during the break, and I'm looking at it, and it's like when ESPN puts their schedule out there, they'll put a little green W next to a win, a red L next to a loss, and there's a lot of green and red on here just because they cannot get a rhythm for any stretch of the season.
There's a lot more red than green at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I believe they're one game under 500.
Yep.
And then, like you said, as of late, 3 out of the last 4 have been losses, and they have not won more than 2 games in a row this season, which, that just wasn't an expectation for this team coming into the year. And I think that we're starting to see some signs here or some trends where, one, defensively, they haven't been where they need to be. You look at their 3 losses in their last 4 games, they give up 88 points, 89 points, 85 points. Like that's just not good enough when it comes to defending in this league. And even last night, 85 probably isn't the worst number in the world total to give up against an opponent, but 35 in the fourth quarter is certainly something that you cannot necessarily be, I think, doing and have a consistent level of play. And one of the things that Stephanie White mentioned after the game, Mark, was she believes her team has an unable to, quote, go for the kill. And I'm like, okay, well, that's certainly true. I think that is kind of a thing that they get ahead, let you hang around, and then they kind of implode. I thought that was the case yesterday for sure, where they were in control for 3 quarters of that game. I believe they went to the fourth quarter with a 10-point lead, and then you lose by 10 points. Like that's a bad loss and really a bad overall look for the team.
I feel like a lot of this season, the Fever just played down to their competition. Like there's teams that are like, oh man, they should take care of this team, no problem. And they either barely get by or they lose. And that was the same with the LA Sparks, who are not having a good season at all. Yet the LA Sparks hit 50% from the field and knocked down 35 points in the fourth quarter. That is something that should not be happening with an Indiana Fever team that has as much expectations as they do.
I agree.
Can I give you some good news from the game last night?
We'll take it.
They outscored the Sparks 24-20 in the third quarter, though, which means you score free curds. Curds in the third. Have you heard of this promotion that they do with Culver's?
Yes, I have.
Surely Tyrese Halliburton loves it as well. The Fever outscored in the third, so you get to get some free cheese curds with any purchase through the Culver's app.
Look at that.
And Culver's.com.
Do I need a ticket from the game?
I was like,
no, you just go to your Culver's.
Look at Colin lifting the spirits of Indiana. That is the most Midwest update from Colin I've ever heard in my life. By the way, you
lifting
can get
the spirits and clogging the arteries.
Yeah. I'll take it. You need something, honestly, but that team's been struggling. And actually, there's just points in the season where I feel like you're going to have to start to stack some wins, because although you're playing a longer season, you don't have a ton of time. I believe they're right on the nose, actually, being a third through the season. And so you want to start turning over a new leaf here soon. It's just hard, I will say, to build some continuity when you're constantly dealing with lineup changes, the drama of DeWanna Bonner, being waived. But regardless, they don't know who's going to play. And it's just one of those things where how long can you use that as an excuse?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been very inconsistent from all over the place. And now you get Caitlin Clark banged up. We don't know what her status is for a while. I mean, she's not going to play tonight. There's no way. And then, now you got the Commissioner's Cup final on Tuesday. The schedule just keeps moving. That's the problem, is that she's been out already. You were kind of like, okay, can we tread water until she comes back? Now she came back. Now she's out again.
Yeah.
And you don't know when the timeline is that she's going to return again. So you're kind of in another unknown stage of this Fever season. And it's very early on. But as you said, it's already getting late because they're a game under 500. They're 500 at Gainbridge, which you're not taking care of home court. That's not good either. lots of questions still going with this Fever squad.
Absolutely. And Kylan, I believe you pulled the audio. Here's what Sophie Cunningham had to say about her team, their struggles, and what's coming down the pipeline for this team.
I think so far this season we've had a lot of distractions, you can call it, some injuries. Don't know who's playing. And so there's just a lot of distractions, but I think that's really good for us. Let's go through the adversity early. Let's learn from it. Good news is we're not going to peak too early. So, I mean, that's a positive. But I think it's not an excuse. Everyone's playing a back-to-back. Everyone has this kind of rough schedule. For us, we get another opportunity tomorrow, and we got to capitalize on it. Dallas is a team that's hungry for a win. And we talk about this. We are circled on everybody's schedule. No one likes us, right? So everyone in our locker room, that's the only type of people that we have that we can lean on, and we got to be better in that area. We have got to stay disciplined. We have to stay focused. We need to get consistent, and we got to lean on each other. And I think that we've kind of wavered a little bit on that. We have our own islands, but as one of the leaders on the team, I got to do a better job of grouping people, right? In the fourth. It's going to kill us, right? Like they scored 35 points, I think you guys said. That just cannot happen. Can't happen. Or if they do, then we need to be scoring 35, 36, 37 points. So we just got to be better from top to bottom. But the schedule thing, that's just an excuse. We're in this league. We're pros, and you got to be a pro, and tomorrow we got to bring it.
I really like what Sophie Cunningham brings to the team because there's no nonsense. She obviously has a little fight in her, as we've seen in previous games with her teammates. So I like what she said, and she's not wrong in anything that she said. I mean, you're facing a Dallas Wings team right now. It's the first time you're meeting them this season, but they're the second worst record in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark or not, you should beat that team. Yes. You need to beat that team. This is one you need to have. I don't care if it's a road game, home game. I don't care if you're playing in the Bahamas or wherever you're at. You need to take care of business and beat the Dallas Wings tonight and take care of business.
I agree. So I guess we can leave it at that when it comes to the Fever notes. We can pivot a little bit back to the Pacers, I believe, Mark, when it comes to the draft. And again, the 2-day NBA draft is always
I think
the weirdest thing in the world to me is the 2-day NBA draft.
I think they're trying to be like the NFL, and there's no reason to try to be like the NFL because the intrigue just isn't there. There's so many players. Yes, no one knows, all the players that are drafted in the NFL. But you really don't know all the players that are in the NBA draft, especially these days when people are coming from he played in Paris's G League or whatever. Yeah. What? Who is this? I've never seen a second of this man play. You try to find highlights, and it's from a high school gym camera, and you're like, this is a Ring camera? What's going on here? What are these highlights? So, 2 days, I get it. It's for ratings. There's not much else on TV, so they're trying to do what they can. It can easily go back to 1 day, and it'd be just fine.
I will say, though, on day 2 of the draft, they picked up Cam Jones.
I do like that pick.
Number 38 pick. I've been watching his highlights throughout the show here on my laptop, and the guy can get out. He can play. He can, I believe, defend pretty well too. And honestly, I'll read a little bit of his draft bio from one of our guys over at The Athletic, I believe. Don't die over there, Mark.
I just whacked my ankle on this desk. I was a very good pro, and I didn't swear.
I need you to, stay alive here, or at least get through the show with me. But here it is. Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer, his scouting report on Cam Jones. 6'4", 200-pound combo guard who can create shots, knock them down off the catch, finish at the rim, and loves to apply pressure on opposing ball handlers. Does that sound like a Pacer to you?
That sounds like a Rick Carlisle man right there.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, once I heard this guy will get up and defend you 94 feet and try to, disrupt your dribble, that is a guy who can probably fight his way to some minutes on this Pacers roster. And then, like you said, they rounded out their draft class with, I'm saying his last name right? Is it Talon?
Is it Talon Peter?
Talon Peter. Yes, Talon
That's
Peter.
how I've been pronouncing it. I hope that's correct.
Yes, and he's another guy who just a very efficient scorer, especially at the college level. Mm-hmm. 75% from 2-point range. I believe he was in the high 30s from 3-point range, and someone, again, who has the potential to, I think, contend for a roster spot, but I'm a little more skeptical for him just because there's so many guards already in the roster. But not a bad investment, and like I said earlier throughout the show, I think since you didn't go center, that informs me, Mark, that you're probably going to go center when it comes to free agency to back up Miles Turner.
Yeah, the Pacers definitely have some pretty guard-heavy roster depth at the moment. I get it. You're going to be without Tyrese Haliburton all next season, but there's a lot of guards and not much depth on the center position, so obviously Miles Turner a priority. But, like you said, there's hopefully some indication that they're going to attack that big man situation in free agency at some point. I don't know who's out there. I don't know who they're planning to target, but I mean, that seems more than likely. Are they going to bring someone back that's already been in the building? Are they going to go with, fresh blood? I don't know what they're going to do there.
I will say, though, I mean, I'm looking at this Taylor Peter guy, 45% from three last year on 5 attempts a game. That's very good shooting. Again, 75% from two as a guard. That is very impressive. So he's someone who can fill it up. And at the very least, Mark, we're going to get a fun, I think, summer league team with these Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, long-term prognostication for these guys, I have no idea, because the NBA draft is a crapshoot. I think even the first round is a crapshoot for a lot of the times. Yeah. So are these guys going to make impacts on the actual NBA roster? I have no idea. But the G League and the Summer League should be fun. We'll have to see what they do there. But the Pacers need to replace that Tyrese Haliburton shooting somehow. 20 and 10 has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So, hey, Taylor Peters lighting it up. Take a flyer on him. See what he can do, and maybe he can crack the roster at some point there. We got plenty more Pacers discussion coming up. Rafael Barlowe is going to join us at the top of the hour to talk NBA draft, what he thought the Pacers did, where they need to have some more additional depth added. We'll talk to him coming up. Kyle, let's do some fast fingers real quick. We got these Indy 11 women's tickets, a pair of tickets for tonight's game out at Westfield's Grand Park, where the Colts will be in just a little bit. They're taking on the Dayton Dutch Lions at 7 o'clock tonight. So, fast fingers, if you want a pair of tickets to go to Westfield, hit us up 239-1070. Hit us up 239-1070. Also, if you just want to talk Pacers draft, what you thought they did. Did they swing and miss? Did you want them to address center? Let us know. It's Mark Dykton, James Boyd, Kyle, and Tally on the ones and twos. It's the Fan Morning Show, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Well, we asked for callers on the Fan Morning Show, and callers we got to talk about the Pacers draft picks, how they did last night. Cam Jones from Marquette is their 38th overall pick selection. They took him. And then they also took Taylon Peter from Liberty with the 54th overall. And we've got Steve on the line. Now, Steve is apparently a Marquette alum, and I assume has seen Cam Jones in person, or at least watched plenty of Cam Jones. So, Steve, you're on with the Fan Morning Show with Mark and James. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
What can
I will tell you that Cam is going to be a great fit for the Yes Sir's Indiana Pacers, and I'll tell you why. Because when he scored 21 points on his 21st birthday at Hinkle Fieldhouse, beating our beloved Butler Bulldogs, I was in the hallway there as they were leaving after he was interviewed by media, and I said, "Cam, happy birthday." And he stopped and said, "Thank you very much, sir, for taking time to wish me a happy birthday." And then said, "Got to go, meet with the coach." And I said, that was showed the character that he has, and he's going to fit in fine with the Indiana Pacers, and the Rick Carlisle system will be a great value add for the team.
So he's a great Golden Eagle and just a great human, it sounds like. So that's good. That's a good fit for the Carlisle system.
For the Carlisle system, and we're looking forward from him moving from Marquette blue and gold to Indiana Pacer blue and gold.
That is an easy transition. Steve, thank you for the call. So there you go, a little insight into Cam Jones.
I will say this. When Cam got drafted, I believe he told ESPN's Monty McNutt, "I can't wait to go to Naptown." And I was like, he's already calling it Naptown. He should probably be here tomorrow. So, yeah, if he knows that, I feel like he'll fit right in. And, if he's nice to my guy Steve, thanks for calling in, Steve, maybe he'll be nice to some other Pacers fans.
Sometimes, if you're not familiar with the Naptown nickname, people assume you're talking about like a mattress firm store or something like that. Were you going to sleep? What do you know? No.
Yeah, when I wrote my Pacers and Racers story, when those things were happening, I think the first line I had was, "There's no time to sleep in the Circle City, because of what's going on."
Mm-hmm.
And one of the comments I got in the story, Mark, was, "Man, James, the Naptown was right there. It was a layup." And I was like, yes, it would have been a great, there's no time to sleep in Naptown, but it wouldn't work on a national scale because nationally, if you Google what's a nickname for Indiana or Indianapolis, Crossroads of America, Circle City, you're not going to get Naptown unless you live here.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it was too local of a joke for it to land on a national scale, but I got a kick out of that.
It's like the Milwaukee Bucks wearing Cream City on their jerseys. I'm like, when the hell has Milwaukee ever been called Cream City? Never in my life.
Right.
I wouldn't pick that up in a lifetime. I was like, that seems absurd that you put that out there, Milwaukee. But so there's Cam Jones Steve was talking about Cam Jones. Scott is also on the line on the Payless Liquors hotline, wants to talk about the Pacers draft pick. Good morning, Scott. How you doing, man?
Morning. Good. I like the Cam Jones pick. Not a problem there. But before people jump down my throat, I want to explain something. I like Miles. I think it's great that he's been around 10 years and what he's done. But after the finals performance, I wouldn't give him $30 million a year. I just wouldn't. I don't know why they didn't go big with the second pick. You've got Golden. I think he went undrafted for Michigan. There's Dixon. I couldn't believe that the Knicks passed over a Villanova guy. There are big guys out there, but I wouldn't give him $30 million a year. I just wouldn't. I think by the time, if this would have been before Halliburton got hurt, I'd say yes. But we're looking at 2 years down the road. We're looking at, Miles will be here, 11, 12 years? I think I would try to get younger. We don't know what they're doing with that second pick. They might be making a sign and trade, too. Mm-hmm. People don't, they're not thinking about that. But I just would not go the 30 mil route. I'd try to get younger and get a big guy in here.
So, Scott, let me ask you this. If Tyrese comes to the team and says, hey, I need Miles Turner when I get back healthy, would you then do the deal?
I suppose if he was confident, that everything was – Miles just looked like he was sick. I heard he had the flu, but, for 3 weeks, it just seemed like he wasn't himself, for the finals and maybe the Eastern Conference finals too. He just didn't – he seemed like he was short on everything. He wasn't rebounding, It just – I know you got to keep your stars happy, but well, that's a big number. If they could maybe work a lower number somehow and keep him, but well, that's a lot on your team. That's a lot for one guy.
Scott, if not Turner, then who?
Oh, I don't know who's available as far as the veterans.
It's not good. It's Miles Turner's far and away the better guy.
I heard that Utah had, maybe before last night, I heard Utah was a good trading partner because they said they had Kessler, and I guess they had draft picks and some expiring contracts. But I'm not sure after the guys they took. I also like Tanjay. I'm not sure why the Pacers didn't try to get Tanjay.
All right, Scott. Well, Scott, not on the train for the Miles Turner extension. Appreciate the time, Scott. Have a good weekend, man.
Sure, you too. Thanks.
All right, Darren is up next on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Has some stats on Cam Jones' newest Pacers. Darren, what's up, man?
Good morning, guys. I just did a little research on him last night after I got home and did not get to catch the first part of the draft. But he is a 4-year player at Marquette. I think they said that he's only one of 2 guys ever to score 2,000 points, if I read that correct. And last year he was 5th in all of college in NIL numbers for $1.6 million. So he's pretty shrewd. He's a mature player. I think, he's going to be a possibility of just a kind of step-in guy right away. I'm not saying he's going to be Tyrese, but if you've got a guy with 4 years and that kind of scoring experience, that seems like a pretty good fit to me.
I think, Darren, you made a very good point there. And it's similar to me, maybe not to, I don't want to compare him to Andrew Nembhard, because Nembhard has proven that he's a very, very good NBA player. But the experience factor, he played a lot of basketball in college, so maybe the transition isn't as volatile as it would be if you were just a one-and-done player. Is his ceiling as high as a one-and-done player? Probably not, because you stayed in college longer. That tends to be the case. But I agree there, Darren, with your assessment on Cam Jones. And we'll just have to see how it shakes out. Everyone's always an expert, myself included, until we see the guys play. And then we're like, wait a second. He's either better than I thought or he's worse than I thought. We just have to see.
Every draft is hindsight. You're always like, this guy's a bust. This guy's the greatest. It's all in hindsight. We're all just throwing darts, as we tend to do. Plenty of more great stuff coming up, including Rafael Barlowe. James's guy is going to talk some NBA draft, so we'll dive more into that again. 239-1070 is where you can find us as well. We'll get to more calls on the other side before we get to Rafael. So it's a Fan Morning Show. Mark Dykton, James Boyd, Colin Talley, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Kylan just spinning the tunes this morning. I'm loving it. Love the soundtrack. You're doing a producer proud. Oh, my God. James Boyd is dancing. I've never seen this in my life. This is James at this is you at the Red Garter on a Friday night?
Yeah, this is me off like a Shirley Temple if I ever had one.
Uh-huh.
So
the Grenadine is hitting. We're going to get to more calls about the Pacers. We've got Rafael Barlowe coming up in just a few minutes. Real quick, though, Eddie White texted me, said, can you please encourage people, go to allstarhunt2025.com. That's allstarhunt, HUNT, 25.com. We're going all over the state in the next couple weeks, giving away tickets to the WNBA All-Star events on Friday and Saturday during All-Star Weekend. It's the only way to get free tickets to the extravaganza for Friday and Saturday night. So again, allstarhunt2025.com. Shout out Eddie White. Thank you for that info. So there you go. Sign up. Try to get yourself some free tickets. They're also doing scavenger hunts around the state as well. Eddie White also sending a note saying his wife is on a flight today. Who else is on his wife's flight? None other than Kevin Bowen. So there you go. I was like, I hope she gives him grief about his failed Speedo bets.
I forgot how close. That's the biggest loss. Beyond the Achilles, the biggest loss we got as a society was seeing Kevin Bowen in the Speedo.
Well, I don't know if you heard me on the middays yesterday, but I said, we have this shout out, by the way. We have the fan golf outing at the Fan Invitational Golf Outing presented by Franciscan Health on Thursday, August 7th. Tee time at 8 o'clock at Legends Golf Club. We'll all be out there. James will actually be covering the Colts game, so he won't be out there, but everyone else will be out there playing golf, enjoying a great opportunity to come together as a community and celebrate the Franciscan Foundation. I said, this is an event. This is, a sponsored event and everything like that. Station's going to be out there. People are going to be paying money. You can get tickets at 1075thefan.com. People are going to be paying money for this event. I said, Kevin, you have 2 Speedos in the closet. I say longest drive, whatever that may be, you whip on the Speedo and you run out there to the tee.
Oh, Lord. Is that allowed?
Why not?
Aren't there like dress codes at golf courses?
I mean, we've had streakers at all kinds of sporting events. It's just a Speedo. It's, in essence, a bathing suit. I'm sure it's fine.
Oh, Lord. I don't know.
If you want to see Kevin Bowen in Speedo, I'm pushing this hard, by the way, because I think he needs to put these Speedos to good use. Otherwise, they're just gathering dust in his closet. So you haven't been able to wear it for Notre Dame championship. You haven't worn it for the Pacers championship yet. Wear it at the golf outing. Give people, if that's a reason to sign up, I don't know what is. To possibly see Kevin Bowen in Speedo. He's not agreed to any of this. I'm just throwing this out there. So if we get enough people to hit him up on Twitter at KBowen1070.
Peer pressure.
We want to see the Speedo at the golf outing. I mean, he's going to be forced to do it.
There you go. I don't know how we transition from that to this, but
you don't.
For my buddy listening, Rafael Barlowe, if you're on the line, I promise we're not normally talking about Speedos at whatever time of the morning this is, 9 a.m.
Don't lie. Don't lie.
But Rafael, how you doing, my man?
I'm exhausted, but the draft cycle is wrapped up, so I'm doing good. Man.
All right. And for those who are unfamiliar, Rafael Barlowe has his own NBA draft consultant / scouting website, NBABigBoard.com. Go check that out. He also is the host of the NBA Big Board, I believe, scouting podcasts, things like that. He's all over the place. I met Rafael when I was covering the Pacers full time for Indy Star. Stay connected through the years. And we'll start with these Pacers picks, Rafael. Number 38, Cam Jones. What can you tell us about his game and his potential in the NBA?
I like the pick. One of the things I like about Cam Jones is we've seen him in college play in 2 different roles. So his junior year or last season, he was Marquette's leading scorer, and he was the leading scorer on a team that had 2 guys drafted. So he was kind of penciled in as a guy that can score. This year, he ends up playing point guard, and he averaged like 5 or 6 assists per game, had an incredible assist-to-turnover ratio. So I like the pick. I think he's plug and play. He's experienced, but he can score, but he also showed that he can distribute the ball and also make good decisions with the ball. So I think it's a good pick. I had a first-round grade on him most of the year, but I thought he would go inside the top 34, 35. So I think the Pacers got a really good pick there.
Rafael Barlowe joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Yeah, speaking of Cam Jones, we've had some people discuss that they just think like he fits Carlisle's system. Rick Carlisle likes to do that run and gun offense and everything like that. So you think he fits pretty well with what the Pacers are trying to do in the absence of Tyrese Haliburton?
Definitely. Gives them another ball handler, but he can shoot. Now, if you look at the numbers from this season, they don't reflect him being an efficient shooter, but I think a lot of that had to do with his increased role. And he was the guy that had to take all the tough shots at the end of the shot clock. But he can score, he can pass. And, I think he fits the system perfectly. And Indiana has had some success in second-round guys, so I think this is a big win.
Last one for me on Cam, Rafael. What does he bring this team, perhaps from a defensive standpoint, or what's just your assessment of his defensive prowess at all?
I think he's a solid defender. I think that he just had, with his size, he should be able to defend two positions. So I think he can help on the defensive end. I don't see him as like a minus, as a guy that teams are going to consistently attack. And as you see in the playoffs, that's the key to being successful, is not having a guy that teams just are looking to go after and attack every possession.
Rafael Barlowe on the Payless Liquors hotline. Rafael, the other pick they made with the 54th overall pick from Liberty guard Talon Peter. Your thoughts on Talon Peter? Seems like a flyer pick, but your thoughts on him?
I'll be honest, I did not see this at all. He wasn't in my top 75 prospects.
Oh boy!
And I think I speak for a lot of different people. I've even seen people who I really respect in the draft space say they've never even heard of him. And when you look at the numbers, like they didn't. I mean, the shooting numbers stood out, which was incredible. But just overall, he only started 2 games, averaged 13 points a game, but he is a phenomenal shooter. He led the nation in true shooting percentage, which combines field goal percentage, three-point percentage, and free throw percentage. And he shot 58% from the floor, 45% from three on 5 attempts per game. So he has a defined role as a shooting specialist. This is one of the biggest surprises of the night. And it's hard to knock what the Pacers have done in recent drafts. So I give them credit, because this is a guy that they probably could have got on a two-way, but they must have really liked him, and they went ahead and took him.
Well, what your overall thoughts then on what the Pacers did? Because our conversation has been, heading into the draft, we thought the depth behind Miles Turner, who we expect them to sign him to a contract extension, the depth at center is suspect at best, and obviously the loss of Tyrese Halliburton was going to be addressed as well. But we were kind of surprised they went guard with their 2 picks. What did you think how they did last night?
Yeah, I'm surprised at that also. I thought that they would definitely target a big, but it got pretty thin after the first. After Kalkbrenner, I mean, I would have taken Maxime Reynaud, to be honest with you. But I think maybe that's a situation they would have addressed if Halliburton hadn't went down. So I don't know if they would have taken another guard. But, yeah, Maxime Reynaud was available. He's the one that I would have taken. He can shoot the ball, and I'm a big fan of his. I actually had a real first-round grade on him. But I guess they have something in free agency. But then also, I haven't heard an update on some of the guys' injuries from last year, but maybe they're counting on those guys to come back and provide some depth behind Miles.
So, Rafael, I'll go here. I know for you spend a lot of time traveling and scouting these guys, but from a basketball fan standpoint, I don't know how much of the NBA Finals you watched, but what'd you think of just the run the Pacers had? Obviously, it ended in devastating fashion with the torn Achilles for Tyrese Halliburton, but just, I guess, the Hoosier-esque, movie-like run that they went on to get to Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
I watched every game. Well, my dad is from Indianapolis, so I was
that's
rooting
news
for the
to
Pacers.
me. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, my dad is from Indianapolis. He went to North Central, so I have family that live there still. So I was rooting for the Pacers, and that's just not. And I'm not saying that because I'm speaking with you. So I was going for the underdog, and I'm sure I speak for millions of people, but I was just devastated for Tyrese Halliburton. But, yeah, the run was incredible. I mean, you had guys like Andrew Nembhard, who was a second-round pick, who just exceeded everybody's expectations. And the coolest thing that I probably saw all playoffs, and I would have never in a million years thought I'd ever say this, Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and it was T.J. McConnell iso ball for a good portion of the third quarter. And it just shows that guys have roles that they play for teams, but they can do more if given the responsibility. And T.J. McConnell showed that. And the guys that he was scoring on were pretty good defenders too. So I think you got to be proud of the Pacers. Obviously, the most devastating way to lose. But, I mean, I know the fans have to be ecstatic with the way the season unfolded.
Rafael Barlowe on the Payless Leaguers hotline. Rafael, we've been asking like the guys and girls who've been following the Pacers all season long, the memories that they'll take from the Pacers run. What is your memory that, like, when you look back on it, maybe to your kids or grandkids about that Pacers run? What's the one memory or one game that will stick out to you about this season?
Just how hard they played, and the fact that you could never count them out, and whether they were down 10 in the fourth quarter, it just got to the point you felt like they're still going to win this game. But, yeah, just the way they played hard, just the overall finals. Like, those guys played hard on both sides, guys picking up full court. But also, of course, you got to, Tyrese Halliburton, just the game-winning shots and just the whole overall story what the playoffs was for him. So that's something I won't forget.
Can we take a step back? I don't know how fresh this is in your brain, but how would you assess your scout of Tyrese Halliburton way back when he was coming out of college to the player he has become today, which led this team to one win away from their first NBA title?
So this is funny. So Tyrese Halliburton was a guy that I liked. I feel like he's the only player that I can ever say that I was totally right about and totally wrong about. So let me paint this picture. I saw Halliburton. I liked him in college. I thought, all right, this guy with his size and his passing, he can play next to anybody. You can put him next to a ball-dominant guard. He can play next to him. You can play him at the point. And I thought he was the perfect fit for Phoenix that year because I think they had Chris Paul and Devin Booker, and I was like, all right, you can play him in lineups next to Chris Paul. And then if Paul is out, you can play him in lineups where it's him and Booker on the floor. I thought he was the ideal connective big combo guard or point guard. But I thought, well, the concern is he doesn't get to the free throw line. All of his scoring comes from threes. And he has this funky-looking shot that I don't know if he's going to be able to get off against NBA-level defenders. So I feel like those concerns were valid. I mean, just looking at, like, how rarely he got to the free throw line in college and, the way his shot looked, I'm like, he's not going to be able to shoot mid-range shots. One part I think I was right about is that he can play next to anybody. But the part I was wrong about was I did not think that he was an engine, like the guy that stirs the drink. And so, I mean, he's exceeded my expectations, even though I was pretty high on him. But I don't think anybody saw him being who he is today, because if they did, they would have taken him number 1 or number 2 or number 3. So he's a guy that it makes me really think about how I evaluate players, because sometimes you just have to look at what they do well. It overshadows the concerns.
I think that's a fair assessment there, Rafael. And honestly, more power to you, because you scout these guys, I mean, all year, 4 years, multiple years. And then you probably have somebody like me telling you you're wrong 5 years later, right? So that's a little bit tough, man. The last thing I'll ask, and I believe we talked about this before, but for those who aren't familiar, how did you even get into this realm of NBA scouting, traveling the world and doing things of that nature for, kids out there or young folks who might want to, pursue that type of career?
I just went for it. I didn't have I had a plan, but I didn't have a clear path. I just knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I got in a little bit early, in a sense, as far as like the social media world of it. So I started in 2016, and like I had worked for a G League team, and I just felt like, man, in order for me to get to where I want to get to, I'm going to have to leave this situation and go independent and go on my own. And then maybe once, maybe I'll be appreciated a little bit more. So I bet on myself and took the gamble, and I started a website. Then I lived in Istanbul, Turkey for a year, managing one of my friends. And from there, I was like, all right, well, if I know the international game, if I'm an expert on the international game as an American, that'll give me, a leg up over my competition, because this is a real competitive field. Then I started a website, And then COVID hit. I started a podcast. There was nothing to do during COVID, so I started a podcast, started recording every day and doing video breakdowns. And then I don't want to say it happened overnight, but slowly but surely things just started to work out in my favor. So I would say that if there's a kid that has a goal or a dream, just stick with it. I mean, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, but you just can't get discouraged when it doesn't look like things are happening for you.
Rafael, can't thank you enough for the time. One more question from me before we let you get out of here. Your favorite player and team pairing of the draft?
My favorite player and team pairing in the draft. Well, I liked Molly Walsh at number 10 for Phoenix because that was a hole that they needed to fill. But then it just got weird that they traded for Mark Williams, like, I don't know if it was 20 minutes before, 20 minutes after the pick. So that was one that I liked. Obviously, Cooper Flagg in Dallas. But I like Trey Johnson in Washington. I think Trey Johnson is going to slide into Jordan Poole's role. He's going to lead the Wizards in scoring, in my opinion. And they got some nice guys on the team, but Trey Johnson gives them that extra. I mean, he's a nice guy. I don't want to get it wrong. But he gives them that extra fiery competitor that could be like their guy that takes shots at the end of the shot clock, the guy that puts the team on his back, their alpha dog. So I like that pick in Washington.
Well, look, Rafael, thanks for the time, man. I know you've been pulling double duty and not sleeping and traveling, all these things, man. But I appreciate you hopping on the airways with you and just keep up the great work. And honestly, thanks for being sort of inspiration to me early on when I was just figuring out how the heck do I cover a pro team. So thanks for all the grace you showed me back then and the love you still show me now.
Oh, no problem, man. I didn't even know that. So thanks for sharing that.
All right, man. Take it easy. That is Rafael Barlowe. Again, you can check out his work at NBABigBoard.com. I think he does great work. And like you just saw or just heard, he is someone who knows his stuff. I feel like you probably could ask him about 200 prospects. He would give you a breakdown on all of them. So, again, a guy who, like I said, we connected. He told me, gave me his number. And you know, people do that. You're like, oh, am I ever going to use this? Is he going to pick up if I need him? I talked to him probably in like over a year. And he's like, yeah, I'll talk at whatever time you need me to. And he's bright and early doing it with us. So I got to thank him for that.
Yeah, I appreciate his time. Talon Peter, you think he was in their top 200? He was shocked the Pacers took him.
Yeah, you know, he was very what I say, like, you know, like politically nice. You know, he's like, oh, he wasn't in my top 75, but the Pacers have done some good things in the draft. You know, that gave me a little bit of, you know, cause for pause there. But at this point, I think sometimes even us in media, beyond just fans, can get a little bit too obsessed with draft picks.
Oh, 100%.
Where it's like, you know, why did they pick this guy? Like, I'm never going to necessarily kill a team for who they choose at number 54. Like, that is... I mean,
you're literally taking a flyer on a guy.
Exactly. I'm like, if you look up and you say, oh, man, we could have gotten Nikola Jokic 2.0, then yeah, but it's so rare that those players even end up being a guy. Honestly, Mark, a few years ago when I still worked at Indy Star, we did like a breakdown, me and Nat Newell, my editor at the time, of like, okay, let's take a look at the last 20 years and the top 10 picks from the last 20 years, just the top 10. When you leave the top 5, the chances of you getting like an all-NBA caliber player or an all-star player drop significantly outside of the top 5. So, yes, scouting matters. You want to find good players like Andrew Nembhard later in the draft and others. But if you're looking for a star, most times it's not that hard. You pick them in the top 5.
Right.
Otherwise, I mean, you would find stars everywhere.
Right. There's a reason like Giannis, you know, didn't go number 1 overall because if people had known what Giannis Antetokounmpo was going to be, he would have been an overall number 1 pick without question.
Exactly. It's like in the NFL, Taven Bryan, former Colts defensive tackle, was chosen before Lamar Jackson. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. Well, at the time, we didn't think Lamar Jackson was going to be a 2-time league MVP and, you know, 3-time first-team All-Pro and all these things like that.
Some people said that Lamar Jackson should be a wide receiver. I'm not going to name names, but that was someone in town said that.
Fair enough.
Didn't agree with it, but that was talk. At Barlowe, Barlowe 500 on Twitter, by the way, if you want to find Rafael's stuff there. We've still got callers. Is Brian still online? Let's talk to Brian. Brian had more thoughts on the Pacers draft. Brian, you're on with Mark and James. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
What's up, brother?
Hey, I just got 2 quick comments. One, I don't think the media has gushed enough over Halliburton. How can I put this? He really gave up a lot. There's no guarantee that he's going to come back. I think that this is a great moment for parents to show their kids that, hey, sacrifice, you put the team first. He became my favorite Pacer right away. And the second is there's no way I would go in, pay Miles Turner and have to pay a luxury tax. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, I think, Brian, one, to your point about Tyrese, yeah, maybe we haven't gushed enough about the sacrifice he gave the team and the city, really. You heard that in his letter afterwards, after the Achilles surgery. But let me be the first to say, or the second to say, or the 100th to say that dude really is or has embodied the Pacers, embodied this city, embodied this state. And I've said it often on these airwaves. I believe it will be a question on Jeopardy to ask what team was Tyrese Halliburton drafted by, because it's going to feel like he was drafted by the Pacers. It feels like that now. And it's almost like a fun fact that, oh, by the way, he started his career on the West Coast in Sacramento. He is that big of a figure now with his franchise. He's already created that many memories. Even before this year, his first playoff run was to the conference finals.
Yeah.
He's already created a career montage of game winners in the playoffs, and he's had 2 playoff appearances in his career. He's in his 5th season, or just wrapped up his 5th season. So I think that's a great point you just made. As far as the Miles Turner thing, I think sometimes, again, we as fans or media can get caught up with one. The money isn't ours. I mean, if you got to pay luxury tax and keep this guy around, then you do it. But my argument against Brian and others is not necessarily the number is big, and if you had other options, yeah, you should pursue them or look at them. But what are your other options?
Mm-hmm. That's my big question.
If your only option is I don't want to go in luxury tax, I don't want to pay him, well, yeah, you don't pay him. You stay at a luxury tax, but it's a significantly worse team. I get that people are hung up on the finals performance. Miles was bad in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
B-A-D, bad. It was not good. But the finals wasn't the entire season. And to me, you can't look at me with a straight face and say you would have got to the finals without Miles Turner.
Mm-hmm.
That is not true. So Your thoughts, Mark?
Well, I mean, he's also put in 10 years with your franchise. Obviously, meshes well with what Rick Carlisle is trying to do for the system. Rick Carlisle was on these airwaves on this show earlier this week saying, well, he doesn't have the final say. He also says Miles is a huge part of what we do. So while you may not like his performance, Miles Turner would be hand-raised, I didn't have a good finals performance. That's all fine and well. You can't wave goodbye to a 10-year person on your franchise just because he didn't have a good few games. He's still been with you for 10 years. He meshes well with that system. And yeah, Miles Turner and how long he's going to be with the team, that's been the ongoing topic, I feel like, Miles Turner's entire career with the Pacers. Every offseason, it's is he going to get traded at the deadline? Is he going to move off? Are they going to move on from him? He seems like he's a lifelong Pacer. He's embraced the city as well, and I just don't think that if Rick Carlisle is telling us on the air that Miles Turner fits a lot of what they do and what they're trying to do, that while you can stare at the money for this season, you can also say, well, long term, it hurts, we might go in the luxury tax now, but it's not like you're not paying that for a 1-year deal. You're getting Miles Turner for longer than that and everything. So I think people are just oh, the money scares me. It's not your money. I don't know why people are so scared about it. It's the Simons money. They're going to pay it. So if they're willing to pay it, then let them pay it. I don't get the big deal there. Plus, I also just can't see the fact that Halliburton's out at least this next season, and it's going to take him a little bit to ramp up even when he does come back. You're not waving goodbye to Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton in one season. You're just not doing it. So
exactly,
I think it's a foregone conclusion that Miles Turner's coming back. I have not heard a good alternative that people want to throw out there. The center free agency market is barren outside of Miles Turner. So I think as long as Miles Turner wants to come back, he's going to be in Pacers uniform next year.
There you go.
All right, we've got more calls on the way. I think James is leaving soon, so I might have a solo run of this show, which that is everyone's worst nightmare at this station. So we'll see what the final 30 minutes are going to go. Before we do all that, though, let's get into a morning check down. All right, so the Indiana Fever struggle bus once again. They fell the LA Sparks 85-75 last night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. No Caitlin Clark, which means the Fever have lost 3 of their last 4, going a game under 500. Azura Stevens led all scorers with 23 points, while Kelsey Plum at 21 for the Sparks. 35 points for LA in the fourth quarter. James, we've discussed that fourth quarter.
obviously where the game turned, but you can't be giving up 35 points in 10 minutes.
Yeah, just real quick. It's as a Ray, just to make sure.
I'm sorry.
You're
yes.
fine. I just know WNBA Twitter will find you, find where you live, and have some choice words with you over the names and things like that. But yeah, she was fantastic in the fourth quarter. Kelsey Plum as well. But overall, Mark, I think this team just has to find a way to be more consistent amid inconsistent lineups. But bottom line is, like you said, 35 points in the fourth quarter. No matter who's out there, that is too many points to give up.
Kelsey Mitchell led the Fever with 20 points, and the Fever get right back at it tonight when they visit the Dallas Wings. Again, I don't expect Caitlin Clark to play. She already missed today. She's not getting on a plane with a groin injury and playing tonight. Uncertain status for Caitlin Clark going forward, but that game tips off at 7:30. Pregame coverage over here on The Fan with Eddie Garrison, 93.5, 107.5. The Fan is where you can listen to that one. Zoom. Pacers, we just talked to Rafael Barlowe. Drafted Cam Jones, 38th overall, the Marquette guard, and then Talon Peter, 54th, the Liberty guard. And then they signed Samson Johnson and East Carolina guard R.J. Felton after the draft completed. I was surprised they went guard, like we've discussed all morning. Your thoughts that they didn't go with a big man?
Yeah, I mean, just piggybacking off of what we had with our previous guest, Rafael Barlowe, he agreed with us, Mark, that it was a bit surprising they did not pick a big man, but I think that sort of informs us that they'll target that more so in free agency and use that as the avenue to get their backup big man behind Miles Turner.
Larra Overton joined us earlier. That was because the Colts training camp schedule came out yesterday. So Colts open training camp Wednesday, July 23rd. It runs through August 14th with a joint practice with the Packers. Only one joint practice with the Packers. Larra was surprised by that. I was surprised by that as well.
Yeah, only one joint practice, but again...
And they go to the Ravens, too,
Yeah, they go to the Ravens. We talk about reps. These are going to be some big reps coming up. Assuming Anthony Richardson, like he told 24/7 Sports, that he'll be ready for training camp. If he is, we have some huge reps coming up for him. But at this point, I think that he's lost probably too much ground to really, regain the lead in this quarterback competition unless he comes back and balls out in training camp. So we'll see. It's less than a month away, and I'll give you all the updates out there under the hot sun in my bucket hat.
I need someone to get their bucket hat autographed by James White. I need that to happen. Just like I need Kevin Bowen in a Speedo at our golf outing. Colts training camp tickets, most of them are free. There are some that cost some money, but they go to Colts charities, so make sure you check out that on the Colts website. And then baseball-wise, the Cubs shut out the Cardinals for the second straight game, a 3-0 win there. I believe that's 22 scoreless innings that the Cardinals have not scored a run. That is beautiful to see from this Cubs fan. The Reds were quiet. They take on the Padres this weekend. And then the Indianapolis Indians, 17-2 losers against the Omaha Storm Chasers. I said earlier it was Thirsty Thursday, and that's a good thing because you probably needed to drink to get through that game last night. If you're sitting out in the heat, sweating God knows what off, and you're watching a 17-2 beatdown, you're like, yeah, give me another Sun King while we're at it.
Yeah, that's an Iowa football score right there.
Anything else we missed before we hit a break?
Well, we had Shams Charania reporting for ESPN that Masai Ujiri is out as the vice chairman and president of the Raptors. So that is the biggest, latest NBA news.
And you are leaving us now, right? You're heading out?
Yeah, I got to head back to Romeoville. I'm going to go work a high school NCAA live period tournament for my coach. I might even see Darren DeVries there. There's usually some big-time coaches that come through for this event. It's right in my neck of the woods where I grew up, and I'll see a lot more talented kids than I ever was in high school basketball.
You were telling me your weekend schedule of what that is. I said, good Lord, James, are you going to actually rest at all?
No, I'm not going to rest at all.
I can't wait to see you on Monday. You're going to be very interesting on Monday.
I might have the raccoon eyes on Monday, but love will get me through. It'll be good to see my coach, old teachers that I used to have, things like that. But, a lot of work, a lot of steps, But as I tell you all, I love basketball. I love high school basketball in particular. So I can't complain too much, man. This is the life I chose.
Well, have a great trip. Safe travels. We will see you on Monday. I'm holding down the fort with Kylan the rest of the way, so strap up because I don't know what's going to happen these next 30 minutes. You want to call the show, 239-1070. We also have some more Indy 11 tickets to give away as well. So you stick around. You might get rewarded having to listen to me for the next 30 minutes. It's the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Nation's worst nightmare has just come true. It took a long time. Folks, but I finally did it. I ran everyone else out of the studio. Kylan is in here bravely, but all the other hosts have left. Kevin's gone, shooting his shot in Oregon. Jeff is out in Charlotte doing God knows what. James is on his way to Chicago. I've taken over the show. I've taken over these airwaves. So buckle up. These last 30 minutes or so are going to be a bit crazy because I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't know exactly what my brain is going to do these next 30 minutes. So thank you for joining me. It is the Fan Morning Show. I'm Mark Dykton with you till the top of the hour. Let's handle some business real quick, Kylan. We had a pair of women's Indy 11 tickets to give away for tonight's game. It is at Grand Park. The guy who called in earlier could not go. He didn't realize it was tonight. You are also going to be out there, correct, at Westfield?
Yeah, I will. You'll be hearing me on the big speakers. I'm their PA announcer. So come spend the night watching some wonderful soccer by the Indy 11 women. They will be playing Dayton Dutch Lions FC. When they played them at their place, they won 3-0. So this is going to be a good match tonight, coming off of their last game on Wednesday. It'll be a really good revival for them on a Friday night.
Yeah, what else are you doing? Look at that.
Come on.
You can see the Indy 11 women play. You can say hi to Kylan. Give her a shout out while she's doing the PA. 239-1070. Pair of tickets to the Indy 11 women's game tonight at Grand Park out in Westfield. Speaking of Westfield, the Colts will be getting out at Westfield in a little under a month here as the training camp schedule is out. They will be breaking into camp Wednesday, July 23rd, runs through August 14th, where they handle a single joint practice with the hated Green Bay Packers. That'll be interesting to see what they do out there. Obviously, all eyes on Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. I've said it before on these airwaves. I'll say it again. At this rate, I think it is Daniel Jones's job to lose as far as heading into week one as the starter. Anthony Richardson's shoulder, obviously a major issue. And at this point, I mean, the Colts can't go into unknown territory with him. How you're already going to split reps with a guy who's got a hurt shoulder and try to balance that out? At this point, I think you just play it safe. You tap Daniel Jones on the head and say, hey, you're our day one starter for the season. After that, you play it by ear. If Daniel Jones struggles, you then go to Anthony Richardson. But I'm telling you right now, once you pull the ripcord on Daniel Jones, whenever you do pull him from starting and you give the ball to Anthony Richardson, you ride it out with Anthony Richardson. However good, bad, or indifferent he plays, you take him until the end of the season. So if that's week 1, week 2, week 7, whatever it is, if Daniel Jones is starting the season and then you eventually pull the ripcord on him, it is Anthony Richardson's team from there on out, whatever the results may be, because you need to get a final answer from Anthony Richardson. I already think I have my answer as far as what Anthony Richardson is as a quarterback, but maybe the Colts need that final push this year 3 to finally see whether or not they can move on with him or not. A critical year 3 for Anthony Richardson, not helping that he's already knocked down with injuries. So we'll see what the Colts do out there. Again, July 23rd when their first training camp practice begins. So you can get out there, sign James Boyd's bucket hat. If you have one, bring it out there. I want James Boyd to sign as many bucket hats as humanly possible. So bring it out there. Get your hat signed by him. Maybe Kevin Bowen will bring out a Speedo or something like that when we get the dog days of training camp. Who knows exactly. Switching pages, though, to the Indiana Fever. Again, losers to the LA Sparks last night. 85-75, not a good showing at all, especially on home court. They're now 500 at home court. They've not defended home at Gainbridge Fieldhouse at all. No Caitlin Clark, again, out with a groin injury. We don't know the timetable of how long it'll be before she gets back, so we'll have to see what happens there. Obviously, more drama as well because the Dewana Bonner situation is still hanging over. There's a Dewana Bonner cloud over this franchise. Eventually got waived by the team. She made some Instagram and social media posts about not being a quitter and this and that. She's not found a new place yet, but she wants to land in either Phoenix with her fiance Alyssa Thomas or to the Atlanta Dream. We'll see where that goes. But Fever COO Amber Cox talked about the Dewana Bonner situation yesterday.
Obviously, Dewana's a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, and one of the best that's ever played our game. We were really excited when she decided to come here in the off season. And, as we got into the season, she just expressed that she didn't feel like it was a good fit for her. We talked through that. We had conversations. Obviously, we made some adjustments to lineup, some of the things we were doing. And we just couldn't get it to a place where, it felt good for her. And, so as we got further along in the process, we explored trade options. And then just, it's pretty early in the season, given the level of Dewana's contract, we just couldn't find something suitable. So at the end of the day, we respect her status as a veteran in this league. We had the opportunity to bring Ari back around the timing with the 10-day wait period, so we just felt like it was best for all parties to part ways. Wish her nothing but the best. Sorry it didn't work out, but we move on, and we're excited about the team that we have on the court, and yeah.
The decision to have her not be with you guys was listed as personal reasons. Was that a team decision or was that a Bonner thing? Both? How exactly would you characterize that?
Yeah, I think as we were going through the process, it just felt better for her to step away, you know. Again, as we were sorting through what it was going to look like, you know, if it could be a return, exploring a trade, you know, again, it wasn't a decision that any of us made lightly. So it was a lot of conversations, and again, as we got into that process of exploring a trade, and we knew it likely was not going to be something that was going to last the duration of the season, we gave her that opportunity to step away.
So there you go from Amber Cox, COO of the Fever, explaining their side of the DeWanna Bonner situation. Lots of unknowns still. I feel like we're only at the surface level of what exactly went sour with that, only a month and a half into the season, and she wants out. So not sure exactly where that puts the Fever, except getting a black eye on the franchise, because that was a bad signing. It seems for both parties, because something had to go wrong pretty quickly, because DeWanna Bonner had previously worked with Stephanie White, Sophie Cunningham, and other members of the Fever organization. So exactly what went wrong and how it went bad so quickly, I don't know if we'll ever get the true details about it, but that's where we're at when it comes to DeWanna Bonner. So she is off to somewhere else, probably Phoenix, probably Atlanta, somewhere else. Sophie Cunningham also joined in after yesterday's game and said, this team is struggling. We've lost 3 of 4. Now we're 7-7, or a game under 500, 7-8. It's time to start getting serious about this season.
You know, I think so far this season we've had a lot of distractions, you can call it, some injuries. Don't know who's playing. And so there's just a lot of distractions, but I think that's really good for us. Let's go through the adversity early. Let's learn from it. Good news is we're not going to peak too early, so I mean that's a positive. But I think it's not an excuse. Everyone's playing a back-to-back. Everyone has this kind of rough schedule. For us, we get another opportunity tomorrow, and we got to capitalize on it. Dallas is a team that's hungry for a win, and we talk about this. We are circled on everybody's schedule. No one likes us, right? So everyone in our locker room, that's the only type of people that we have that we can lean on, and we got to be better in that area. We have got to stay disciplined. We have to stay focused. We need to get consistent, and we got to lean on each other. And I think that we've kind of wavered a little bit on that. We have our own islands, but as one of the leaders on the team, I got to do a better job of grouping people, right? In the fourth. It's going to kill us, right? Like they scored 35 points, I think you guys said. That just cannot happen. Can't happen. Or if they do, then we need to be scoring 35, 36, 37 points. So we just got to be better from top to bottom. But the schedule thing, that's just an excuse. We're in this league. We're pros, and you got to be a pro, and tomorrow we got to bring it.
I don't disagree with anything Sophie Cunningham said there. Fever struggling again. Losers of 3 of their last 4 games. They're a game under 500. And it doesn't get any easier. They're right back at it tonight, so they're back on the court heading to Dallas to take on the Wings tonight. You can hear that game right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. But they got to figure it out. They got to figure it out quickly, and they also don't know the status of their star in Caitlin Clark. Lots of unknown stuff going on with the Indiana Fever right now. We're going to take a quick timeout. We got one more segment to go. Some Indy 11 men's tickets to give away as well. It's Mark Dykton on the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Today, I'm Mark Dykton. I'm in for a little bit longer before I get out of here. Again, if you like me, then you're going to love me because I'm on air again tonight hosting Indiana Sports Talk on these airwaves tonight. And tomorrow we've got a bunch of guests lined up for that. If you don't like me, then, boy, this has to be your worst nightmare. Much like people at the station here, probably like, oh, my God, this guy's on air right now by himself doing solo work. That's
the only
case.
reason I'm here is to keep you in track so you're not at least running the board, too.
Yeah, James gave you like a warning, like keep him in check. I'm like, okay, all right now. I'm not that bad, am I? Anyway, we're going to get out of here in a few minutes. We've got some stuff to take care of. If you're not going to the Indy 11 women's game tonight, which what else would you be doing? There is something you could do. Boy, if I wasn't hosting Indiana Sports Talk tonight, I might be trying to convince Ashley to bring me out to Fort Wayne to see the Tin Caps game. This was brought to my attention. Fort Wayne Tin Caps pro wrestling night tonight. Mick Foley, the hardcore legend, going to be in attendance, and there's also fireworks as well. Fort Wayne taking on Great Lakes. If there's ever an excuse for me to make the trip out to Fort Wayne to see the Tin Caps play, it's when Mick Foley is out and about for pro wrestling night. So I wish I could get out there. I won't be out there, though. I'll be holding down the fort with Indiana Sports Talk. So join me on these airwaves. I would love to have you on. That'd be a great way to go. It'd be my first venture into Indiana Sports Talk tonight and tomorrow. Bless you, Kylan, and all that. So I promised the Indy 11 tickets. We also have those as well. The men's tickets, those are for tomorrow's game. So that's the USL Jägermeister Cup. I love that name. The Indy 11 taking on Birmingham Legion FC. That is also at 7 o'clock tomorrow night at Carroll Stadium. 317-239-1070 if you want to go to that. And hanging on the line right now, I don't think he wants Indy 11 tickets, but he wants to talk some Pacers. Charles is on the line. Charles, what's up, man?
Hey, Mark. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, brother. What's up?
Hey, listen, I got just a comment about Miles Turner. People need to just stop it because, I mean, people saying, oh, I wouldn't give him this, wouldn't give him that. You know, if sports did not show the financials of each player and stuff, it would be so different. If people did not know what certain players are making and stuff, they would be going, okay, does he fit in? What does he do to this team? He is a team leader, okay? He's given us 10 really good years. Yes, he had a bad series, but hey, we all do have bad games and stuff. So my point is, if people did not know what he made, you wouldn't hear nothing about it. You would say, oh, he's a great fit for our team. And he is. And you're not going to go out and get anybody better that works with our team and Carlisle's system. You're just not going to.
Right, and we've had Rick Carlisle on these airwaves say just as much as that, saying he fits the system, he fits what we want to do, he's a key piece of what we try to do. And like you said, Charles, I totally agree. Like, I've heard people say they don't want him to pay. First of all, it's not their money, so they shouldn't worry about it. But also, who are you replacing him with? I haven't heard a good, solid argument of who you're actually going to replace Miles Turner with if you were to move on with him, because you have to find a guy that's not been in the system with Rick Carlisle. You don't know how he's going to mesh with the players. You know how Miles Turner meshes with everybody that's on this Pacers squad and how he fits with what Rick Carlisle is trying to do stylistically. So, Charles, appreciate the call. Have a great weekend, man. But, yeah, Miles Turner, I will be stunned if they don't re-sign him. I think that's a foregone conclusion at this point. So the people complaining that he shouldn't be back and this and that, I get it. He didn't have a good finals run. We can all agree he didn't have a good finals run. That doesn't discount the last 10 years of what he's done for this franchise and for this team. He fits what Rick Carlisle's trying to do. He runs the system well. He can shoot it when he can. He'll get better. He's fine. You're also not going to wave goodbye to him and Halliburton next season. That would be a huge franchise shift, and I just don't see that happening with the Pacers. So plenty to get into with the Pacers. Obviously, we will have all eyes on Miles Turner going forward. That is the big topic of the offseason. Again, last night's NBA draft, the Pacers selected Cam Jones out of Marquette with the 38th pick. They also took on Talon, what's his name? I'm already blanking. I'm drawing a blank for a second. Talon Peter from Liberty with the 54th overall pick. So a pair of guards there for the Pacers. We'll have to see what they do, how they fit with Rick Carlisle's system. The G League just around the corner. And, of course, the Miles Turner discussion. Rick Carlisle discussed he should be with the team, and he should remain that way as well again. Miles Turner obviously going to miss next season. So some guard-heavy draft picks for the Pacers last night. Fever get back on the court as well. They take on the Dallas Wings. They have to get a win tonight Dallas, second worst record in the WNBA. So you got to take care of business there with or without Caitlin Clark. We'll have to get a reevaluation of her going forward, but I'd be shocked if she plays tonight. I'd be shocked, honestly, if she plays in the Commissioner's Cup on Tuesday. That seems like something. You've got a long season left for the Fever. You've got championship aspirations. This team has struggled so far. The last thing you need is for Caitlin Clark to be out for an even more extended time if you rush her back. So hopefully they reevaluate her, get her right, but the schedule doesn't lay up for the WNBA in whatsoever. So Dallas wins tonight. You can catch that game right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan, and we'll get more into that. So have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on Monday.